Chevrolet GMC Studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. Here's 93.7 The Ticket's Jake Sorensen.
Did seem kind of meh.
And Steve Sipple.
Surprisingly good.
This is Early Break with Sip and Jake. Sponsored by Gaina Trucking.
We continue the countdown till kickoff. We are 3 days away. Nick Sainert, Jake Bachhoven with you guys. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. It's Early Break. Hello, Bach.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. I got thrown off right when I started here because my headphones were down so low. Normally you can hear yourself in your headset.
Yeah.
My headphones were down so low that I could not hear myself.
Oh.
And so I had that panic moment of, can the people hear me?
Yeah.
And am I just yelling in the studio aimlessly? But I think we're okay.
I think we've made it. Yes.
I think we're okay. Need to adjust the camera a little bit. As always, 402-464-5685, the Honda Lincoln Hotline, the Starter Heyman text line, both those open for you guys the entire show. Once again, the rest of the week here, Bach and I are filling in for Jake and Sip as they are across the pond. It looks like Sip has made it safely, so that's all good. There's a couple funny pictures floating around about with Sip from him sitting in the plane. If you haven't seen those on Twitter, those are.
It's not. I don't know why that made the rounds. He's just,
well, did you see the way he was looking? I mean, the
it's
guy
just Sip looking.
It looked. Well, here's the thing. Sip is an interesting looking man, as we know. And when he looked like he was ready to get off that plane.
He was thinking twice about being in there.
It looks like he's been through some stuff. That's what the look was like on the plane. Once again, 402-464-5685, the Honda Lincoln Hotline, the Starter Heyman text line, both those open for you guys the entire show today. Want to have you guys hit us up as well on the Starter Heyman Jewelers video stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. You can get in touch with the show that way. You can always follow us on Twitter, Nick_Sainert, and at Jake Bachhoven as well. Before we get too far into this, want to talk about what's actually happening on one of our later shows today, Bach.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a big day. It's a big day. Obviously, 3 days from kickoff in Dublin. The guys are already over there. Northwestern will get over across the pond today. But later today on The Captain with Vershawn Jackson and Jake Bachhoven, maybe T. Farley's going to be there as well. They'll be live from Wingstop on 29th and Pine Lake area, right? In that strip mall over there with Chipotle and all those other places in that strip mall. They're going to be joined by a special guest, the legend, the GOAT, the national championship winning coach, Tom Osborne.
That's right. The best guest you can have.
Yeah, exactly. So make sure that not only are you listening later today, but if you want to stop by sometime between 11 and 1 p.m. today, he will be there. You can probably come and say hello, hang out at Wingstop, hang out with Vershawn. I'm going to make my way over there. I'll be off the air at 10 o'clock. And so I'm going to make my way over there and hang out at Wingstop because why not? I mean, it's not very often. This is the second time in, the 8 months of Vershawn doing a show that he's been able to have Coach Osborne on and now having him so late in the off season when we're getting ready to go to getting ready to start the season in just 3 days. It's extremely exciting for what this show is going to be like today.
Yeah, and I, there's so much that kind of you think about with Tom Osborne, obviously, and so I can't wait to see kind of the camaraderie, I suppose, between VJ and Tom Osborne. Maybe ask him about the best captains he's ever had. Maybe VJ is.
Does
up
VJ
there.
make the list?
I don't know if VJ claims to be the captain, right?
That's true.
With his show, so I mean, he won a national title with him as captain.
That is true. Okay, so today, once again, 402-464-5685. Want to hear your guys' thoughts. I wouldn't mind also, here's the thing, I wouldn't mind doing a little bit of a roll call. So this is the first time that I've done this, but it's 6:06 a.m. Central Time, and I would like to do a roll call because where are you listening from? How old are you? And that's all I need because, I'm curious. There's a lot of people over in Ireland. There's a lot of people making their way to Ireland. And I really want to know if we're across the pond right now.
Yeah, we made
like,
it.
I'm curious. Like, Jake tweeted at us yesterday. He was listening to us because it is almost noon there right now. It's 11:07 a.m. in Dublin. And I want to know where you guys are listening from. So once again, 402-464-5685. Got a lot planned for the show today. We'll get to all this roll call here in a moment. Got a lot planned for the show today. We are going to kind of do a little bit of a deep dive on Northwestern. So the folks in the media got sent Northwestern's press conference from a couple days ago, and I took a listen to it yesterday, and obviously there is a lot of questions about Nebraska. So definitely want to get your guys' engagement on this. How are we feeling 3 days out? Things like that. I'm truly curious to see and kind of gauge the pulse of Husker Nation. There's already a lot of people texting in for the roll call. Corey and Lincoln says this will be Dr. Tom's first visit to a Wingstop. That's a chance. That's a possibility.
It is, yeah, it's possible.
That's probably.
I don't think he's going to try any of the hot wings.
Should we try to get Tom Osborne to do the hot wings challenge?
No. I think maybe we should just let him eat at his own pace.
Stay away from that. Maybe we could take bets on what Tom Osborne would.
Which
flavor would be his favorite?
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
You know, I would assume maybe. Ooh, here we go. Do we think he's a spice guy?
I don't think so. I think the real question is he a bone-in or boneless guy? Because I think he might be boneless at this point.
I think he's probably boneless. It's just easier to navigate.
Easier to do, yeah.
Easier to navigate around the chicken nugget.
Especially in public, people are going to want to be taking pictures of him. It's all messy,
and you can't blame him.
Yeah,
I mean, this might hurt some people's feelings. I'd elect boneless quite often.
Do you?
I do, just because it's more simple to eat.
Yeah,
it's easier to eat. You can take a fork and a knife, and we're good.
It's not as good though. You have to admit that.
Absolutely, but it's more more convenient, easier.
Yeah.
So
you don't look like a savage.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and after every single bite or every single wing, when you got to go do something, like when we're on air or something like that, if we're at a Wingstop, you got to wipe your hands, then you got to get the wet towels out every single time before you touch our equipment and things like that. So once again, 402-464-5685. Let's get to where some people are listening from. Cleveland Mike is at the Lincoln Air National Guard Base. Big Slim is in Ashland. Sandman is Firth, right by our tower. That's pretty sweet. Somebody's at the gym in Lincoln. Bone is in Wahoo. Curtis is in Lincoln. Sheila is in Lincoln. Mike is listening from Scotts Bluff. We got Mike in Lindsborg, Kansas as well.
There we go. We crossed the border.
Tim is listening in Seward, 45 years old and still kicking, baby, he says.
I hope so.
Neil says driving to work from Lincoln. Kenny is in a semi-truck in Lancaster County. LJ is in Greeley, Colorado.
There you go.
Robert is listening in Chattanooga. And here's the big one. Listening from Galway.
There we go. That's what I like
So
to
how
hear.
about that? It puts an Ireland flag on there as well. Kevin from Texas via Lincoln sent that in. But he's listening from Galway. We got Joe in Boulder. Says hello from Colorado in this game. Still has me anxious. Jake is listening from Syracuse. Joe says, not across the pond, but clear across town at Nebraska Auto Detail. Corey and Lincoln adds in, is there a warm milk wing sauce flavor? I sure hope not. That would be atrocious. It would be atrocious. Cleveland Mike says, at Wingstop, the thigh bites are the way to go.
Oh.
I didn't even know they had thigh bites.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
Didn't even know they had thigh bites. Wet Blanket says, Nick, now that you've been away from VJ for a few days and you've been working with the voice of reason, Bach, are you still calling for a defensive lead at 10-2? Let's get to that here in a moment. Let's keep going with the roll call. We got somebody listening in Crete, Nebraska. We got Jeremiah listening in Columbia, South Carolina. Holy cow, they're still rolling in. Pecan Pie is listening in their truck. Derek is rolling down Highway 41 doing 70 in a car. Ryan is listening from Elkhorn. BC is checking in from Minneapolis. How about that? Bob has just got home from work in Lincoln. Aaron's in Crete. John is listening in Des Moines. And then John is getting ready to make some coffee and read paper in Fremont. So that's good stuff there.
Morning right
that's
there.
Great. Yeah, and have us on. Appreciate you guys listening and participating in that roll call. That's awesome. Ted's also in Milford. So once again, 402-464-5685. We got this on the Sartor Heyman Jewelers video stream. Jake is listening from Plymouth, Nebraska as well. So it's super cool And Faisal 5 times, that's not even funny. 402-464-5685, the Honda of Lincoln hotline, the starter Heyman text line. Want to hear from you guys the rest of the way. Now, let's get back to this wet blanket before we do a deep dive on Northwestern. I got to find the text once again. Says this, Nick, now that you've been away from VJ for a few days and you've been working with the voice of reason, who is Bach, are you still calling for a defensive lead 10-2? By defensive lead, I will stick with the idea that this defense is going to be the strongest side of the ball for Nebraska in 2022. I think that when you look up and down this kind of roster and you see not only the pieces they added, we've mentioned it before, Bach, Nebraska fans, we need to understand that we want 2020 O'Shawn Mathis, not 2021 O'Shawn Mathis.
Yeah.
Right? When we got the commitment of O'Shawn, obviously at the time was the number one ranked, JUCO recruit, or not JUCO, excuse me, recruit, transfer recruit in the country, according to some sites. And when you looked at it, you looked at the stats and you saw 2020 stats of those 9 sacks, right? But you didn't see 2021 stats of 4 sacks. And so when we just expect him to translate that automatically to Nebraska and to a more physical conference like the Big Ten. And so I'd be cautious there with O'Shawn specifically. I think I'm more, let's wait and see. He's going to make an impact, but let's wait and see how big of an impact. I'm not calling double-digit sacks from that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I know he is. I mean, he came out the station's airwaves and said he's going after Trev Albert's sack record here in Nebraska.
And that's
not
great.
in as many words, but I know that's what he's looking for to kind of get stock, junk or prop up his stock in the NFL. So we'll see. You're right, though. I mean, I think that it's kind of interesting to see where that lands. I mean, he could be the best pass rusher and not lead the team in sacks. I mean, he could kind of garner double teams or, whatever the case may be. Maybe him and the outside rushers collapse the pocket enough that one of those defensive tackles gets 8 or 9 sacks and that leads the team. So either way, I know that they feel pretty darn good about that pass rush. He's kind of the linchpin that kind of makes it all go a little bit quicker and obviously very huge for that defense. I expect that defense to be maybe the better side of the ball. I don't know how often they'll lean on it, though. I'm interested to see that. They did a little bit last year, and so, kind of game planning and play calling from the offense. I don't know if they'll step aside and do that this year. We'll see.
I want to get back to this discussion here in a moment because you mentioned something about O'Shawn will draw attention. And one guy, and I'm not trying to make a direct comparison, but in a similar way last year in a much different role, Damian Daniels, right? Just a big guy in the middle, didn't light up the stat sheet or the box score per se, but he took up a lot of space. He ate up a lot of bodies, and he allowed maybe the linebackers to get to the backfield at times or even some edge rushers. And Nebraska's pass rush last year they had bright spots with Caleb Tanner and Garrett Nelson, but it really feels like this year with a couple of the new guys that they brought in, hopefully they can take a step forward. So before we continue on this discussion, let's go to the Honda of Lincoln hotline, 402-464-5685. We got our daily phone call conversation with Vince from Napa. Vince, good morning. We're 3 days away from kickoff. How are we feeling?
Good morning, fellas. How are you?
Fantastic.
Let's see. Well, as we continue with this roll call and we continue with this age thing, this is Vince from Napa, California, and I am 50 years old.
Excellent.
You know what? I still got plenty of fire in me, fellas. But
let's see it.
Let's see. Well, just a couple of thoughts I want to get to. I mean, we obviously, one thing that we point out throughout the off season is that, how, we had so many mistake-filled games. I think one thing that you have to understand, and here's one thing that I'm interested in watching, not just this week, but really throughout the season. You have to understand that mistakes are going to happen. But what I want to see is how does this team respond? Okay, it's 1st and 10. You have a guy that jumps. You have a guy that false starts. You have a guy that commits a holding penalty. Okay, well. All right, fine. It's first and 15. It's 1st and 20. Okay, how do you cut the down and distance down to say 2nd and 11 or 2nd and 8?
Yep.
That's what I want to see more than anything. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see a team because, okay, as great as the effort may have appeared to be last year, there were also way too many times where this team just went into the tank. For example, the Iowa game, all right, the block punt. I mean, yes, the block punt was the block punt was debilitating, but I saw this team go into the tank after that. And that's just an isolated example, but there were also so many other occasions where that wound up happening. And back to your point about the pass rush, the pass rush doesn't necessarily always show up in sacks. I mean, we obviously want to see sacks. We want to see sacks. We want to see the teams, our opponents get into unfavorable down and distance situations. That's what you want to see. But even if it doesn't show up as far as sacks are concerned, what you want is the pass rush to get there. That way, maybe the quarterback has to throw it a fraction of a second too soon. And what that leads to an errant throw. In best case scenario, it leads to an incomplete pass. But also, maybe it leads to an errant throw and an interception. But I'll tell you one thing, fellas,
Here we go.
I'll tell you another thing. We are 2 days away. We're 3 days away from kickoff. and you want to know one thing?
What's that?
Come Saturday. When it's time to kick off, it's time to kick ass.
Yes.
There we go.
Thank you, Vince. I love it.
That
Every
gets
day,
you fired up.
every day it gets you fired up. Nothing better than that every single morning. Thanks once again, Vince from Napa, California, age 50. We also got Robbie listening in Parkersburg, Iowa. We got Daniel from Oklahoma. Some of the roll call still rolling in. Rick from Wahoo as well. Okay, so let's think about this. Vince mentioned the penalties, right? And you don't want to stack penalties on top of each other. And the first game that I always think about when we talk about Nebraska immediately falling behind the 8 ball was against Oklahoma last year. And he talks about how you respond. And I remember sitting in the press box last year in Norman, Bach, and Nebraska, after they allow a touchdown in Oklahoma's first drive, it was, all right, Nebraska sitting here with a 2-1 record. How are they going to respond to allowing a touchdown at Oklahoma, the third team in the country at the time? How are they going to respond? And 1st and 10 from their own 25, false start. 1st and 15 from their own 20, second false start. And it's like, oh boy, it's 1st and 20. Nebraska's backed up to their 15. We just got things going here, and they're already facing a 7-0 lead or 7-0 deficit, and we don't really know what to expect from this team, because once again, you lose to Illinois week 0, then you have 2 somewhat cake walks with Buffalo and Fordham. And if they figure out a way in that first possession to come down and they get a field goal, Connor Cope, I believe, scored on a 51-yard field goal on that drive. I think that was the drive that he scored a 51-yard field goal. And it was one of those things where Omar Manning had a big reception, I want to say for over 30 yards on a 3rd down play in their opening drive against Oklahoma. And it was like they responded as well as we could have hoped, immediately falling behind the 8 ball and facing a 1st and 20 because of 2 false starts in an environment that was loud, but it was also like, it was not Michigan. It was not Ohio State loud. Like there's a difference between those. And so that was one of those that really impressed me on Nebraska responding. And if that happens this year, I asked this question to AD and Raf yesterday. If they immediately fall behind the 8 ball in one of these early games here, who do you turn to on offense? Like last year. So I'll say this: I'm looking at the play-by-play stat from that Oklahoma game, and on 1st and 20, Adrian Martinez run. 2nd and 15, Adrian Martinez run. You knew who the ball was going to be in the hands of last year, whether you liked it or not. You knew it was going to be Adrian Martinez. Who do you put the ball in the hands of this season? We don't know. Is it going to be Casey Thompson slinging it? Is it going to be? Are you going to have a sustainable enough running game or a running game that produces enough yards on the ground to hand off the ball on 2nd and 15 and feel like you can get it into a 3rd and manageable? And we just don't know that yet. And I'm not sure the staff knows who they're going to be able to lean on. And so that's something that's kind of that when Vince was talking about how does Nebraska respond to adversity, specifically in this first game on Saturday, I'm not sure what to expect, because I'm not sure who the playmakers on offense are going to be, or who they're going to rely to make plays when needed the most.
Well, boy, you just hope that offensive line is, it's not getting overwhelmed, because it's one thing to with the penalties. At least you still have the confidence with your gunslinging quarterback on maybe 3rd and 15 to try to throw to the sticks.
Yeah.
If it's pressure, if it's 3rd and 21 because you've been getting sacked and you can't get anything going, then you get back to that quarterback draw or running back draw or really quick screen or whatever, just try to get a few yards back for better field position to punt. And you just hate to see that. I think 2 years ago, they got buried when they started to get behind the 8 ball.
They did.
Their offense just was not a big play offense. They could not usually pick up those first downs. Last year, despite all those troubles, I mean, I remember that Oklahoma drive you're talking about. I think it was 4 out of the 5, maybe all 5 starters on the offensive line got a penalty on that drive. And yet they were able to move it down the field and at least get a field goal attempt. You check, I think, did they get the field goal on that one?
Yeah, so they got so once again, I mean, Nebraska, so 2nd and 8, they were at, and this is going to work into the discussion, and Derek is on the line, and we'll sit tight, Derek. We'll get to you here in a moment. Appreciate you being patient, but you go through this drive, and it involved a 4th and 4 at the Oklahoma 40, and then they decided to Adrian pass to Austin Allen for 6 yards to the 34. Then it was a completed pass for 9 yards to the 25 to Samori Toure. Pass complete to Xavier Betts for no gain at the 25. Then it was a false start, so it's 3rd and 6 at the 30. Adrian passes to Ramir Johnson for 8 yards. Ramir Johnson then runs for 2 yards. You're at the 20. 1st and 10. 1st and 10 at the 20. And this drive is now going on almost 7 minutes. And so it was one of those things, or excuse me, timeout. So it's going to, so they got the ball at the 8:02 mark. And when they were at 1st and 10 on the 20, it was at the 2:20 mark. So you're going on 6-7 minutes on your opening drive on the road. And despite penalties, you're still being able to move the football, like you said. And then it's 2nd and 8. And you get an unnecessary roughness call for 15 yards. Backs you up, makes it 2nd and 23 at the OU 35. Adrian throws an incomplete pass. 3rd and 23, what do? Run the ball with Adrian Martinez, get for 2 yards to the Oklahoma 33, and luckily Connor Culp hits home the 51-yarder. And it's just like one of those things where Nebraska shot themselves in the foot at an opportunity that would have been crucial to answer with a touchdown of their own. Their defense in that first drive with Oklahoma, number one, Spencer Rattler did not look anything spectacular in this game.
No,
he did not. Oklahoma was actually able to run the ball to a certain extent in this game last year. But when you looked also on that first drive, they got away with one of the offensive pass interference kind of pick play things. They got away with one of them that ended up being a first down on 3rd down. So that was how they converted one of their 3rd downs was Bob Stoops' son.
Yeah,
got away with a pick play.
A rub route is what they would call it.
Yes, exactly. So it was one of those things where if Nebraska was able to fight through that adversity on that first drive and answer with a touchdown, it could have been extremely beneficial. And yes, it was great to see a 51-yard field goal go through the uprights. But man, when you look back at this drive and kind of break it down, you look at that play on 1st down from the 20 and see unnecessary roughness, backs you up 15 yards to the Oklahoma 35. And once again, you're behind the 8 ball because of your own mistake. And so it's one of those things where it's just like things like that. How do they respond in crunch time when they're immediately behind the 8 ball? Let's go to the Honda of Lincoln hotline. We got Derek on the line. Derek, happy Wednesday. How are we feeling 3 days away from kickoff, man?
Well, I'm doing great. It's an exciting week, of course. The last few years have felt the same. So hoping for a different result. But a quick question. Have either of you guys been to any of the practices yet?
I have been to both of them.
Okay. So here's my question, because I didn't really get an answer the other day from the afternoon show, but it sounds like from everything I've heard, mostly from KTNK, is that we're going to be under center a lot more with the quarterback. Mm-hmm. And that is great, in my opinion, because it projects more of a pro-style offense, which I think is what's needed to win in the Big Ten West, with a power run game.
But I also wonder, do you feel like they're going to go away from the hurry-up aspect of an offense and maybe more of a controlled huddle, get to the line, take a look at the defense, make a call if necessary, and then snap the ball? Or are we going to be running up to the line and, checking down and going into a play from the quarterback position in a hurry-up? What do you guys know about that?
Yeah.
Thanks, and I'm going to hang up and listen. Great show, guys.
Appreciate it, Derek. That's a really good question. So before I say anything, I'll preface it with this. We don't get to see a whole lot at practice. They let us in for 30 minutes, which was more than in years past. So I want to say, I mean, that's extremely helpful for us when we're able to talk about it on a daily basis. But I will say this: the things that we get to see aren't necessarily game-like situations. They're not scrimmages. It's not really even 7-on-7 at times. It's a lot of individual position group drill work and things like that. We get to see Casey Thompson and all the quarterbacks slinging around, but two guys that are uncovered as well. And so that's the kind of things that we get to see. Offensive linemen doing their individual drill work with some of their guys in that specific room as well. So I will preface it with that, that we have to also take a step back and take everything that we see with a grain of salt, because they don't want to show too much for that 30 minutes that we're there, the 2 times in the off season. Under center for that aspect, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that. And that's a lot of, I think, can be credited to the running back room as well. The running back room is pretty deep right now. You have Anthony Grant, obviously the transfer from New Mexico Military Institute. You have Gabe Irvin, who is fully healthy and is looking better, like from a body standpoint, right? Just put on some muscle. He looks more like a Big Ten back now. And don't forget, I keep reminding people, because they're automatically handing the job to Anthony Grant or Jacques Yant. You got to remember, Gabe Irvin won this job as a true freshman last year. And a big reason that he won this job was his ability to pass block. And I just, once again, I feel like a lot of people may be discrediting or forgetting about Gabe Irvinbach when he was a true freshman and won the starting running back job.
Yeah, I think between him and Anthony Grant, I think those are probably your leaders at this point, and I expect to see them start out there. I continue to be more fascinated by that running back position than anything, just to see how they kind of share those carries, share the workload, or do they go heavy with whoever it is that they assign as their top back. That's going to be fascinating. I am also interested in the hurry up. Again, would be hard to say with a great deal of confidence, but Whipple's had some hurry up offense at Pittsburgh. I don't know if they'll do it early on. Maybe that's something that you kind of, after the installs and you start to maybe have a few games, you feel more comfortable going quickly. But maybe they'll do it. For whatever case, Nebraska has kind of gone away from that. You remember that was kind of the whole idea behind the Scott offense coming in, and it just was not working. So they've kind of slowed down over the last couple of years. So I could see a little bit more of a hurry up to try to catch the defense off guard. Again, I don't know how much that's going to help you in some games. I think some games, especially before this offense, if you're confident this offense can score 40 a game, then sure. But if it's still got some problems, if the offensive line isn't keeping up, you might want to protect that defense a little bit. So we'll see how it turns out. But I think we could see some hurry up quite often on our whip.
That'd be interesting to see. For the under center aspect of things, I feel pretty confident we're going to see a lot of under center, just because Casey Thompson might not be the type of quarterback that Adrian Martinez was, or more importantly, I don't think they're going to use Casey Thompson the same way that they used Adrian Martinez. And I think that's a good choice on the coaching staff's part. And I think that you're going to be able to generate some kind of running game. I'm just saying, there's a little bit of confidence for me in Nebraska being able to generate some sort of a running game. And one thing that he mentioned about, power running game and being under center, he thinks that's how, and we're talking about Derek, the phone call. I want to hear from you guys, 402-464-5685. He talks about power running game, and that's how you win in the Big 12 or Big 10, excuse me. And that's correct. There's a blueprint for how to win in the Big 10, and the easiest way to successfully complete that blueprint is to have a power running back and run the ball 40 times a game. I don't know necessarily if that's the only way to win in the Big Ten. I truly don't. I think that there's a way that Nebraska can assess the roster that they have, and they're able to conform and run an offense that fits their skill set the best, right? Casey Thompson's able to throw the football. Nebraska has a highly respected wide receivers coach in Mickey Joseph that has a great track record, who has already built that wide receiver room pretty deep in his first offseason of being here through the transfer portal, obviously, and through a couple true freshmen and like Janarian Bonner and DeColdis, who unfortunately got hurt. But you sit here and go, Casey Thompson can throw the ball better than the quarterback that was here last year, and you have a deeper wide receiver room. I would take this wide receiver room over last year's wide receiver room in a heartbeat. And it's because of a guy like Trey Palmer coming in. It's because of guys like Isaiah Garcia Castaneda and Omar Manning has another year under his belt that we're still, in all honesty, waiting on to see if he's going to pan out as the number one JUCO receiver that he was coming out of Kilgore, Texas. Like there's still question marks. Don't get me wrong, but from a body count standpoint, in multiple rooms, you feel better about where the team is this year. And I feel like there's a way that you can fit, or you can run an offense that fits your style of bodies in that room and the kind of players that you have that will help you be more successful than just automatically coming in and forcing guys to transition to a power run game or an under center kind of offense. So once again, 402-464-5685, the Honda Lincoln hotline, the Starter Heyman text line, both those open for you guys. Wet Blanket says this, there goes Nick again. With the depth, the deep running back room doesn't have a single player with more than 500 career yards. Not knowing who the starter is does not mean the room is deep. And I've clarified this before. By deep and by depth, what I talk about when we discuss depth when it comes to Nebraska football right now, it's about how many guys could be playing. That's just how it is, unfortunately. When you talk about depth at Nebraska right now, whether it's on the offensive line, whether it's at the receiver room, whether it's at the running back room, it's about who can you point to and say these guys could play on Saturday? Do we know what the output's going to be like? Do we know what the productivity is going to be like? Absolutely not. And history would tell you that transfers haven't worked out too well here in the grand scheme of things. But it's 3 days away from kickoff, and we don't know what a lot of these guys are going to look like, because once again, you see 30 minutes of practice twice a fall camp, and you see individual drill position work. And so you kind of just sit here and go, when you talk about depth and you talk about how deep a room is, you talk about potential guys that could play on Saturday. And we're going into this game saying there are 3 or 4 running backs that could possibly play on Saturday against Northwestern. There are 6 or 7 or 8 wide receivers. Well, we know 6 of them are going to play because Mickey Joseph talks extensively about having a top 6 in his wide receiver room. But there's a chance that 6, 7, or 8 could play on Saturday. And you look at tight end and you wonder where the depth is there. Like, we don't know who's going to stand out in individual position rooms.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what he's saying. I mean, there's not a lot of proven depth around the. I mean, none of this is the late '90s defensive line or anything. But it is. I mean, there's a lot of good prospects. Whether they be proven at this level or coming on over from somewhere else. At certain positions. And so I understand, again, kind of the clap back at you saying the running backs, there's a lot of depth there, but similar to the quarterback position, the running back position, the wide receiver position, they've just done a good job of getting bodies in there that seem to be worth a look. There are other positions where that's not the case. So I would agree with you that there's depth there. While also understanding the idea. It's not exactly. Yeah. It's not a 1-2 punch. It's not like if you really felt good about the depth, you'd think, okay, well then I believe these guys are going to go out there and be a great 1-2 punch. I couldn't tell you if that's going to happen. No. I don't know who those guys would
We don't know
be.
who the 1-2 punch is going to be.
Right.
We don't even know who the one is going to be, right? And so when you're sitting here, like, I know it's not good or it's not encouraging to sit here and say we don't have proven production because we've been doing it for 4 years. I mean, that's what we've done every single offseason is we haven't necessarily had returning production or proven production, but you just hope and pray that transfers work out. And I guess this offseason, I go back to it at the quarterback position. It was refreshing to hear Casey Thompson be talked about as a film junkie and then come out and prove it to us in his own words by breaking down Northwestern's defense in X's and O's. I mean, you don't hear that from a player specifically very often. And we haven't heard that from a player in the last 4 or 5 years. So I think that's just important to point out. But once again, like, you're 3 days away from kickoff. And I think a lot of teams, like, it's not just a Nebraska thing. I think there's a lot of teams out there that don't know proven production right now. And that's also part of that is the transfer portal. Like, as sad as we want to say that, I'm not a big transfer portal ruins college football guy, but there's a lot of places around the country, not just Nebraska, that are sitting here going, we really hope these transfers pan out, because that's going to be the difference between X amount of wins and Y amount of wins. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll dive more into this, talk a little Ramir Johnson as well. You're listening to Early Break on The Ticket. Bauer Infrastructure is a new name from a well-established brand, and they're paving the way to progress. And they're hiring. Bauer Infrastructure is hiring truck drivers, carpenters, truck mechanics, and equipment operators. And they have industry-leading benefits to maintain a work-life balance. Bauer offers paid time off and paid holidays, a matching 401k plan, medical, dental, vision, life, and disability insurance, a clothing allowance, and more. Start your new career today by applying at BauerInfrastructure.com.
Chances are you've tried fruitcake before. Chances are it looked pretty weird. Lots of colors that don't really exist in nature. Chances are it tasted weird. Chances are you need to try fruitcake again. Grandma's fruitcake from Beatrice Bakery. None of that weird stuff you didn't like, just real fruit, premium nuts, and the delicious flavor combination of brandy, bourbon, and rum to meld all that together. See for yourself. Grandma's fruitcake from Beatrice Bakery. Online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum. Casey's General Stores is giving away 2 tickets to each Nebraska football home game this season. To enter, just head to any Casey's General Store location in Lincoln during the football season, scan the QR code at the front counter, and fill out the online form. One winner will be chosen at random 2 days before that week's game. So head over to Casey's, stock up on all your tailgating snacks and drinks, and register to win 2 tickets to a Nebraska football game, brought to you by Casey's General Store and 93.7 The Ticket.
Hey, you got any gum?
Yeah, check my backpack.
What's this?
Oh, that's naloxone. It can reverse an opioid overdose. I decided to always keep it on me after my friend almost died. It saved his life.
I'm so sorry. That makes me want to have it with me too.
You totally should. Check the pharmacy. It was actually really easy to get, and it's easy to use.
I definitely will. Thanks.
Paid for by the CDC. Sponsored by Nebraska DHHS. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hey, Mom. Yeah, I got in a crash. I'm okay. I was wearing my seatbelt.
People count on you to buckle up.
Click it or a ticket. Brought to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity, not to make friends, but just to get something to eat? Or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose
between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. The education assistance I received made it possible for me to be the first person in my family to go to school and graduate debt-free. That education helped get me to the first day at my dream job, a job that I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job, plus the other benefits possible from the Army National Guard, helped me become a first-time homeowner. Also, part of my role as a National Guard soldier means I know that I can be one of the first to respond and help my community if disaster ever strikes. I'm extremely proud that I get to serve my community, and that first step I took by joining the Army National Guard has made all the difference in my life. Talk to your local recruiter or visit nationalguard.com to find out what firsts are available to you in the Army National Guard.
Sponsored by the Nebraska Army National Guard, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association at this station.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and things are cooking in Louisville. Right now, our pre-owned sales are off the charts, and we have loaded up the lots full of inventory. We've got a great supply of Sierras, Silverados, Tahoes, Yukons, and crossovers. Plus, we've got a great supply of back-to-school cars just in time for the big day. Don't forget about all of those new 2022 and 2023 units arriving every day as well. So please take that short money-saving drive down 144th Street or shop online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt U.S. Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
We stand on the shoulders of women who came before us.
Women who fought for their own financial futures.
And now it's our turn.
Join us. Visit WeSaySaveIt.org and take control of your financial future by saving for retirement.
A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
We're on the air.
Back
Well, party's starting early today, isn't it?
to more of Early Break with Sip and Jake, brought to you by Gaina Trucking. On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back here on Early Break on the Ticket, Nick Sainert, Jake Bachhoven. You can feel free to reach out to us on Twitter, Nick_Sainert and at Jake Bachhoven. Also, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube page, 93.7 The Ticket, we're trying to get 1,500 subscribers by Saturday. We need about 200 more, I believe, Bach. So if you can help us out, that'd be great. Who knows? Maybe there's a little prize at the end for being one of our subscribers. Once again, 402-464-5685. The Honda of Lincoln hotline, Starter Heyman text line. Shout out to Vince and Derek for already calling in the first segment there. We went a little long, so this segment's going to be pretty short here. Mississippi Mud Dog says this, and it's a little bit of a hard transition to baseball really quickly, and I want to get back to football. But Mississippi Mud Dog says, hey, Nick, Albert Pujols is going to get to 700 home runs. Mike Trout probably won't even get to 500. You're such an idiot.
Nice.
And here's the thing, Mississippi Mud Dog. Albert is going to get to 700, and it's good to see Albert get to 700. Like, it's good for baseball, and I don't hate Albert Pujols. Like, that's not what I'm saying at all. I don't hate Albert Pujols. So I'm actually glad that for baseball he's going to get to 700 home runs. And the Cardinals beat the Cubs yesterday 13-3, so I have no room to talk. But Albert didn't play in that second game, so it's okay. Once again, 464-5685, the Honda of Lincoln hotline, the Starter Heyman text line. And Wet Blanket says this, and this will be the last thing before we have to get to another break really quickly. Wet Blanket says, in all caps, no, Nick, not knowing who is going to play is not depth. It's uncertainty. Teams with depth don't hope and pray for production. Teams with uncertainty do. And Bach, you posed a good question during the break to me when we were kind of discussing this a little deeper. Is the wide receiver room deeper than the tight end room right now? Is the running back room, do you feel better about those rooms in the tight end room? I think you do, because of some injuries that have happened to the tight end room, because of guys that have moved on from the program out of the tight end room and went to the NFL, i.e. Austin Allen. Like, I just feel better about the new guys that they brought in the wide receiver room than the guys that are returning in the tight end room. Obviously, you don't need as many bodies in that room, so obviously numbers are going to be bigger in the wide receiver room. I get that. But once again, you're 3 days out from a season that is going to feature 15 transfers. You added 15 guys. It's going to be deeper. The rooms are going to be deeper in terms of just sheer numbers. And you have to hope for production. Nebraska needs to hope for production because they were 3-9 last year. So you hope that the 15 guys, that any of the guys that they brought in, produce. But we don't know. We have to hope because they haven't produced at Nebraska. Like, that's the brutal reality of it. And there's nothing else we can say until Saturday, until September, what would it be, September 4th, and until September 10th or whatever it is. I mean, there's just nothing we can say about it. I guess they have a bye week on after that. So
yeah, I mean, I just think it's a difference between depth and proven depth, and then it's just like you're not relying those two true freshmen that are coming in. You're not relying on them. You've got guys in front of them if they're not ready to go at this point. If the running back room was maybe like too deep of upperclassmen, and then you had walk-ons and true freshmen stepping in, then you would have a concern about the depth. So again, a point made on both sides.
I think it's interesting when you talk about the depth, and we're going to take a phone call really quickly before we get to song of the day. But I think when you talk about depth, when you sit here and think about competition in rooms, right? You mentioned if you just have a bunch of upperclassmen and then you get to a bunch of walk-ons at the bottom, nothing against the walk-ons. There's going to be a talent gap. There's going to be a competitiveness, a gap in that, in those rooms. So when you sit here and say, listen, like you gotta kind of take the bad with the good, and Nebraska, the bad is that there's no production, but the good is that there's a lot of guys that are scholarship guys in those rooms, that hopefully there's not such a wide talent gap between the top four and the next four, right? So you hope that there's guys pushing others. And like you said, if somebody makes a mistake, there's going to be multiple guys that are hopefully ready to go, because once again, the talent gap on paper is not going to be as wide as in years past. Let's go to the hotline, 402-464-5685 before we get to break. Tim is on the hotline. Tim, what's on your mind? Happy Wednesday, man.
Hey, good morning, guys. I think wet blanket's just trying to be a wet blanket. The season hasn't even started yet, and we do, guys. I'm excited about what we've got going on, and the biggest reason is because college football right now, and mainly Nebraska for me, because I'm following them closer than anybody else. But it's changed. It's turned more into a pro style organization, to where you go out and you if you can't get your guys, and I've been saying this, I think I said it to you guys before, if you can't get your guys through high school, you get them through the portal. I mean, it just makes sense, right? You get them through the portal, and you get them, and you try to get them with NIL deals. It's just how it goes. And we've established depth. I mean, look at what we've done. How have we not established depth at any position by bringing in all these transfers? These guys have experience. Doesn't experience equal depth? I'm sorry, maybe I don't see it, but I think it does. So I guess the way I look at it is we've got depth, especially at the running back position. We've got a new offensive coordinator. We've got more experience on the offensive line. All of those guys are a year older. So I think we're going to see a more of like you guys are talking, possibly a more pro-style offense. I think we're going to get back into having a featured running back. So now the question is who the heck is it? We don't know yet, but we're going to see if the offensive line can block. I guarantee you at least one of these guys is going to step up and be the lead horse. We don't know who it is. We'll wait and see, but I'm excited. And we do have depth. So there you go. Take that. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Tim. It's interesting. Like, it's not a comfortable feeling, Bach. Like, I want to make this very clear. It is not a comfortable feeling right now saying, listen, there's hopefully going to be a guy stepping up. Hopefully there's a guy stepping up. We don't know who it is. That's not a comfortable feeling. And as a program, that's not where you want to be. But unfortunately, that's where you're at right now. And hopefully after this season, it can be a different conversation going into next year. But in terms of straight competitiveness, then I think that Nebraska's taken a step forward from last year. And a big reason is because of the changes. And just off-season competitiveness, in drill competitiveness, there's been a step taken forward. I want to make a preface on this song of the day.
Okay.
Because I've been criticized the last 2 days about choosing too old of songs and songs that are too popular. And so with this next song of the day, you guys are going to hate it and you are going to rate it extremely low. But I went a little more recent. So once again, get ready to send
it's more questionable.
It's a very questionable song. 402-464-5685. 1 is bad, 10 is good. Get ready to rate it. We'll be right back on Early Break with Song of the Day.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Problem gambling affects millions of Americans daily, of all ages and walks of life. If your loved one is struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
Hi, this is Kurt, your shop manager at A1 Automotive here in downtown Lincoln. My promise to you is this: you won't find another automotive repair facility that genuinely cares about you and your vehicle. Our service is outstanding and our customer service is better. Please give me a call for all your automotive repair questions and needs. Call me at 402-477-4660. We were built on small town values, and that shows in how we treat others. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. It's soul food right here in Lincoln. Ribs, wings, catfish, coleslaw, cornbread, grits. I mean, I'd say it's food like your grandma used to make, but my grandma never made food like that. If you haven't already, you've got to give it a try. Check out their location across from South Point at 27th and Pine Lake, or find their food truck at events all over town, or visit them online at maryellens.com to see the full menu. Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. Let them fix you a plate.
Wow. Did you ever save me money on my car?
Yes, that's why our customers keep coming back.
How do you do it, friendly car dealer ?
We simply have low overhead and high trade-in values. The next line's yours.
Oh.
Ready for something better? Mullen Motors is a no-hassle, no-pressure dealership with financing available. Check out the inventory at MikeMullenMotors.com.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
There's a lot of realtors in Lincoln, but don't get overwhelmed by all the names. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realtor Group at Berkshire Hathaway Ambassador Real Estate is your go-to option when buying or selling residential and commercial property. Ben's team offers unbeatable customer service and promises to make the buying and selling process as stress-free as possible. Call Ben today at 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Ambassador Real Estate. No pressure, just professionalism.
Hey, Steve. Welcome to Great Clips. Great Clips asks, what's the difference between good and great? Come on back and have a seat. Good asks you what haircut you'd like. I have all your details from last time. Would you like the same haircut today? Great already knows. With Clip Notes, we save your haircut details so you can get the same thing as last time, every time. Download our online check-in app today. Great Clips. It's gonna be great.
Let's do it. Let's get away. Let's go outside, cast a line, and reel in good times with our family and friends. Get a little peace, quiet, and relaxation, and make some memories that will last a lifetime. Let's do it. Let's Fish Nebraska. Start planning your fishing trip today at letsfishnebraska.com. Sponsored by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You love to bash his sports takes.
Now, will you feel like an idiot if you're a
No,
big tough?
never feel like an
If
idiot.
you're a big tough guy this morning,
But you really love to voice your displeasure for his music choices.
stumbled on an issue that I did not think would generate this much passion and discussion.
It's time for Jake's questionable song of the day on Early Break on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You
know I know how to make them stop and stare as I so loud. The club can't even handle me right now. Watching me, I go all out. The club can't even handle me right now. The club can't even handle me right now.
Can't nothing handle me right now. I see you together. Let's get them. Hey, I own the night and I don't need no help. You gotta be the bitterness, Scarface bell. Stuck and gone wild, can't handle this pill. Back for the club, arrogant like yeah. Top like money, so the girls just mail. One so many, y'all know me like 12.
All right, song of the day is Club Can't Handle Me by Flo Rida with David Guetta, released in 2010. And if there's one word to describe this song, it is absolutely questionable. Give it a rating on the Starter Heyman text line. And I know I'm going to get ripped apart for it. 402-464-5685. 1 is bad, 10 is good.
Watching me, I go all out. The club can't even handle me right now. The club can't even handle
Once again, song of the day is Club Can't Handle Me by Flo Rida featuring David Guetta. It was released in 2010. Now, here's the thing. You guys told me that I needed to go more recent. Now, I didn't go necessarily 2020s recent with Lizzo and Dua Lipa and maybe Jack Harlow, if any of you know who that is.
Ugh.
But yeah, I don't like them. Like I don't actually scratch that. I like Dua Lipa. I like Dua Lipa a lot.
I like Doja Cat.
You like Doja Cat?
Yeah, I'm a big Doja Cat guy.
That's the problem, is that you don't have band names like Flo Rida anymore. You don't have you don't have David Guetta. You don't have those kind of names. You have Doja Cat.
What's wrong with Doja Cat?
I mean, it's in the name. It's in the name. Why are we doing Doja Cat? All right, let's here we go. This is going to be interesting. Oh, there's a lot of thoughts. Here we go. Me says it's garbage, 0.3 or excuse me, 0.03. Unnamed texter says actually give it a 10. Pecan Pie says 0. Brett in Minnesota says that song is so bad. Is this Kids Bop? Give it a 2. John says still too safe of a music choice, 8.9. Craig says what is that garbage, 0.1. Jennifer, bummer. The last 2 days were so great. Jennifer gives it a 3. Hubby gives it a 4. Somebody says it's a 1.5. It's not even music. Cody takes me back to 2010. Give it a 9 for sure. Scott gives Drop the Fire, 9.3. Here we go. Unnamed texter says Chip here. First time texter. That song was so bad it felt like another 3 and 9 season. Adam gives it a 7. Unnamed texter is not happy. Guilt Nerd says 0.0. You're fired. Lemon says Flo Rida has always been underrated, 8.1. Crowbait gives it a decent pick. Thought you were going to play Post Malone, so this isn't bad. I give it a 7. Harper's dad says Harper gives it a 10. Harper's dad gives it a 3.
Oh, different generations there, I think. Yeah,
exactly. Matthew Hickman says 6, not bad. Unnamed texter says bring me back on this beautiful hump day, 8.8. Pickle Rick, 8.2. Oh my gosh, they're spazzing a little bit here. Houston Pepper Champion says 3.1, and that's generous. Eric says, all right, Thicky Nicky, now you're just reaching. Florida gets a flat 7, and you and your big head gets a 1.1. Bird in Columbus, 0, make it stop. My 8-year-old gave it a 5, though. Trucker Rod gives it a -5. You lost your street cred. Give it a 0. It sucks. Magic says 1. Sanderson loves some Flo Rida. Appreciate the creativity, 7.7. Seattle Joe says solid 7. John and Fremont, that was awful. Tim gives it a 10. Cody and Carney says flashbacks to middle school. Somebody says, please find a new job. Tyler, jeez. Tyler says 0. Doug gives it a 7. All right, hold on. We got to get some a lot. Here's some more. Byron says Nick is better than Jake. Somebody says, I imagine listening to this on downtown at Barry's after a W on Saturday. Somebody says, turn your man card in, Nick. That song sucked. Thomas and Lincoln, well, Thickless, the score has to be a 5, still better than Jake. Corey and Lincoln said, I said veer away from classic rock hits. I said I didn't say play something that sucks. Dude, that was all right. 7. And Scott and Firth, who is age 60. Mark and Lincoln, last one, says one word, sucks. I give it a 1.
There's a lot of difference of opinions there.
There is. Mouth of the South says you made everyone lose brain cells by your awful song choice today. 0 out of 10. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Jake, it's time for, actually, we need to play the legal ID because that went a lot quicker than I would thought. So let's pause 10 seconds.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
All right, so let's go ahead and get a rating from Bach here. Bach, how do you feel about Club Can't Handle Me by Flo Rida and David Guetta?
I like it. I like it. It gets me going. It makes me want to get in the club and start dancing and all that stuff. I mean, at the same time, Flo Rida was just it was tough to escape in 2010. He had songs left and right. It was a little too much. So I'll go with the strong 6.5. A strong 6.5.
I was expecting
not a
weak
weak 6.5.
All right, Gus, let's get on the mic here. We bring in Gus, the former Lincoln Southeast outside linebacker and tight end. we're just thinking of Sip today. How do you feel about Flo Rida?
I like the song. I mean, I probably thought it's not corny, but I mean, it was an all right song when it came out. It's all right now. I mean, it's good at what it's meant for, which is
dancing
when you're in the club.
Yeah. Are you a big club guy?
I've actually never been to the club.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have to. How old are you?
I'm 19.
Okay. Yeah. Don't. Yeah. That makes sense then. Okay. So I think Gus is going to give it a 5.3. What do you think, Buck?
Yeah, that sounds like he's just okay with it. I think I'll go 6.1.
Okay.
No, I give it an 8.
Okay.
Wow.
That's
all
a
right.
good song.
That's a good way. That's
not amazing.
That's a good way to end.
It's good for what it's meant for.
All right, perfect. That's a good way to close out. Thank you, Gus. Good way to close out the 6 o'clock hour. When we come back, we'll hear from Pat Fitzgerald. What did he have to say at his press conference earlier this week? We'll dive into that, talk a little more Northwestern as we get you ready for game day. We're 3 days away. Stick around. 7 o'clock hour coming up next. Jake Bachhoven. Gee whiz. Jake Bachhoven and Nick Sainer with you. We'll be right back on the ticket.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Please enjoy these next few moments of relaxation from Scott and Greg at Mendoza Family Insurance. If you would like to feel this relaxed about your home, auto, business, life, or commercial property insurance, please give Scott or Greg a call today at Mendoza Family Insurance.
Empire Fence and Netting in Waverly is now hiring for several positions. They're looking for a fence installer for both commercial and residential, for local projects, and ones that require travel. They also have openings for operators, dirt work, welding positions, and applicants with CDLs are very desirable. If you're looking for a locally operated business that provides excellent work for customers and great benefits and care for its employees, email info@empire-fence.com or give them a call at 402-682-7658. Empire Fence and Netting.
Mike Shaver here for Trek CBD. Summer is here, and that means you're having garage parties with neighbors, hitting the golf course and the pool. The drink of this summer isn't your typical seltzer. It's drinkable Delta 8. Yep, Trek CBD has drinkable Delta 8 seltzers with mango and lime flavors for 4-packs, 12-packs, coming in a variety of mango, watermelon, lime, and berry. They also have hemp-derived Delta 9 syrups to put in your beverages, and as always, the excellent Delta 8 gummies. Trek CBD at 84th and Andermatt and TrekCBD.com. Trek CBD, CBD done right.
Casey's General Stores is giving away 2 tickets to each Nebraska football home game this season. To enter, just head to any Casey's General Store location in Lincoln during the football season, scan the QR code at the front counter, and fill out the online form. One winner will be chosen at random 2 days before that week's game. So head over to Casey's, stock up on all your tailgating snacks and drinks, and register to win 2 tickets to a Nebraska football game, brought to you by Casey's General Store and 93.7 The Ticket.
Are you sick of mindlessly running on a treadmill or the lack of motivation to consistently work out? Whatever your challenge, Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping can help. Whether you want to lose weight, boost energy, or simply improve your overall health, you'll fit right in at Farrell's regardless of age or abilities. Build endurance with their kickboxing and strength training group fitness classes while also getting nutrition coaching. Try Farrell's now for a free week. Visit fxblincoln.com or call Jeff at 402-310-4026. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Coppell Chevrolet GMC, and things are cooking in Louisville. Right now, our pre-owned sales are off the charts, and we have loaded up the lots full of inventory. We've got a great supply of Sierras, Silverados, Tahoes, Yukons, and crossovers. Plus, we've got a great supply of back-to-school cars just in time for the big day. Don't forget about all of those new 2022 and 2023 units arriving every day as well. So please take that short, money-saving drive down 144th Street or shop online at CoppellCars.com. You'll be glad you did.
Sandhills Global is hiring. Check out sandhills.jobs for more information. Sandhills is looking to fill hundreds of new openings in sales, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Sandhills has a professional culture and is fast-paced with a focus on growth, innovation, and leading-edge technologies. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Apply today at sandhills.jobs.
In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels and Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels and Joe.
Get a lot of advice about self-care these days, but one of the most important self-care steps we can take is making sure we're financially secure later in life. For small steps you can take to save for retirement, visit WeSaySaveIt.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Wake up, Lincoln.
Come on, it's 6 o'clock. Rise and shine, rise and shine.
It's time for Early Break with Sip and Jake, brought to you by Gaina Trucking. Live from the Coppell Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. Here's 93.7 The Ticket's Jake Sorensen.
Did seem kind of meh.
And Steve Sipple.
Surprisingly good.
This is Early Break with Sip and Jake, sponsored by Gaina Trucking.
Back here on Early Break on The Ticket, sponsored by Gaina Trucking. Nick Sandert and Jake Bachhoven back with you. I was telling Bach during the break, man, this week really feels like it's dragging along, Bach.
It does. You get excited on Monday. It's like game week. You just feel like it's going to be here at any time.
Like I woke up this morning and I was making my way to the station. I'm like, all right, what are we going to talk about on Thursday and Friday? Because we got 2 more shows before Husker football. And I was like, it's only Wednesday. We got to get through it. Once again, Nick Sander and Jake Bachhoven with you. Want to hear from you guys throughout the entirety of the show. 402-464-5685, the Honda of Lincoln hotline, the Starter Heyman text line, as well as the Starter Heyman Jewelers video stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Make sure you're subscribed there. Get some notifications when we go live. Once again, if you're just now joining us here on the 7 o'clock hour, Tom Osborne will be joining Bach and the captain, Rashawn Jackson, live at Wingstop today on 29th and Pine Lake from sometime between 11 and 1. He'll show up. So we'll be there from 10 to 1, but Wingstop doesn't open till 11. So Tom Osborne will be there from at some point between 11 and 1 p.m. day. So if you want to stop by, say hello to the legend, the GOAT, and fill up on some wings, make sure you do that. Once again, the legend, the coach, will be at Wingstop with Rashawn today from 11 to 1. All right. Once again, 402-464-5685. This second hour, I kind of want to take a little bit of a deeper dive into Northwestern because on paper, These are two teams here in Nebraska and Northwestern that went 3-9 last year. They're both on 6-game losing streaks, right? Going back to last season.
They are.
Yeah, they are, unfortunately. And Pat Fitzgerald is entering his 17th season at Northwestern. And here's what's always interesting about Northwestern and the Wildcats, specifically under Pat Fitzgerald, is that whenever they have one bad year, they have one good year the following year. And he's led them to a couple Big Ten West titles, Big Ten championship appearances in the last couple years. Hasn't necessarily won because you always have to face off against Ohio State or Michigan State on the other side in Indianapolis. But nonetheless, they've done stuff that Nebraska hasn't been able to do in the last 4 years, and that's win 2 Big Ten West titles. So when Pat Fitzgerald spoke to the media the other day, and Northwestern, what's always interesting, Bach, is to learn travel plans for teams and how it's different. And Northwestern actually flew out last night, I believe. So they're going to get to Dublin today. They may be even there already, but they decided to get to Dublin a day later than Nebraska. And maybe they're just not, they're also staying a day later as well. So they're going to stay till Sunday. They're feeding about 600 people on Saturday night immediately following the game. 600 of the players and the immediate family and friends that are traveling kind of with the team somewhat to Dublin. They're going to feed them a big buffet style meal, Pat Fitzgerald said, on Saturday night immediately following the game at like 10 p.m. So hopefully they can be eating while after they lose, but we'll just see what happens. Here's the thing. I want to get to a couple thoughts that Pat Fitzgerald had. And he was actually asked, you've bounced back in years past. You have one poor year and then you bounce back and you have a pretty successful year, whether that's 8-9 wins. You get the job done and you get to a bowl game and a pretty decent one at that. He was asked, how do you feel about the chances of having a bounce back year once again this year? And here's what I have to mute the site. Here's what head coach Pat Fitzgerald had to say about that to the media earlier this week.
I feel great about it. Number one, because of the way they worked this offseason. I'll be remiss without mentioning Peter Ritz, our dietitian, who's done a great job getting our guys ready for not only training camp, but, also this trip and the logistics that go into that. And, Jay Hooten and our strength staff. It was great just to be in the building the entire offseason for the first time in 2 years. And, we looked like it, coming into spring ball, we looked like a different squad. I was here all but about, I think, a couple days this summer, and the way that we went through the summer workouts, our guys, I felt like we had our squad back, if that makes sense. And, the kind of solid trajectory that we've been on here over the last, 10 to 12 years with a couple of hiccups, there's been some extenuating circumstances during a couple of those years, but I feel like we got kind of our edge back, kind of who we are, our identity back. But now we're going to face adversity for the first time here in Dublin. The trip, we're going to have things not go our way in the game, and that'll be, I think, a great challenge for our leadership that I feel is in a great place now. But that leadership really has got to step up when you face adversity, and I expect and fully anticipate that it will. But that'll be what I'll learn about this squad, kind of finishing up, this first phase of the season as far as training camp in week 0 with how we handle that in-game adversity. So feel good about us going into it, but know we're playing an outstanding team with a lot of, talented guys that are well coached and, with a little bit of a schematic advantage for their offense, with us not really knowing and having any evidence of what they're going to be and how they're going to do things. And then defensively, Coach Jenander's done an outstanding job since he's been there, since day one, and they're very talented. They're outstanding up front. Those linebackers, man, I love the way those dudes play. Those edge guys, they're fast, they're physical, they're explosive. They've added some pieces there. They've added some pieces to the back end. This is going to be a huge challenge for us, but I know our guys are excited for the opportunity for a once-in-a-lifetime game, and we got finishing touches in our prep here tomorrow, and then we'll get excited to get over to Ireland, on Wednesday morning.
So that is Pat Fitzgerald on the chances of a bounce back year. A couple guys that they return as we kind of dissect the Northwestern Wildcats here. They return, obviously, at running back Evan Hull, who had 196 carries last year for 1,009 yards, 7 touchdowns, averaged 5.1 yards per carry. They also get Cam Porter back from injury, but they lose Brandon Joseph on the defensive side of the ball, transferred to Notre Dame from the safety position. I want to talk a little bit more in depth because he mentioned in that quote, Bach, about how Nebraska has a schematic advantage right now. And multiple times throughout this presser, he talked for about 25 minutes on Monday, Pat Fitzgerald did. And multiple times throughout this press conference, he mentioned that Nebraska has a schematic advantage, and in the first quarter, that's when they make their adjustments. That they don't know what to expect in the first quarter, but after the first quarter, they're going to make adjustments and be ready to go. And he was asked on Monday who stood out for Nebraska when he turns on the tape, and here's what Pat Fitzgerald had to say.
Well, I mean, when you go back and you watch the tape from last year, and everything stood out. I mean, we didn't play very well, and they played outstanding. And I think across the board, you look at the talent that they've added. Is some very impressive players. That's been a huge challenge for our defense, right? We've got to go back, watch guys at their previous institutions individually as players. We've obviously had to go back and study Coach Whipple and what he did, not only at Pitt, but also at UMass and different stops along the way, and take a look at some of their other new assistant coaches on offense to see if there's anything schematically that we need to be prepared for. It's obviously a lot, and we'll know a ton after the first quarter. Where they're at, and then we'll have to plan to adjust at halftime and then see what they do again new in the third quarter as they move forward. So, as opposed to talking about individual pieces, it's been more macro level stuff that we've had to really study. And then, the individual players we've had to study, like I said, at the previous institutions, along with the returning guys that they have, from a skill set standpoint. They've got a deep running back room. They've brought in some new weapons, on the outside at wide receiver. That sounds like they're excited about. Their tight end's big. He's physical. He can run. And their old line got after us a year ago. And I know they'll have a couple of new pieces, but they really got after us a year ago.
Mentions that Nebraska got after Northwestern last year, put up almost 700 yards on the Wildcats, 657, dominated time of possession, 34 minutes. Nebraska held the ball for. They had 28 first downs. They didn't turn over the rock. You look up and down the stat lines. Samori Toure had 2 catches for 108 yards and 1 touchdown. Jacques Hezien, 13 carries, 127 yards. Adrian Martinez wasn't asked to be spectacular, didn't have to be last year. Went 11 of 17 for 202 passing yards, 1 touchdown. And once again, like you go up and down the box score, Xavier Betts had an 83-yard touchdown run in that game. Ramir Johnson had 12 carries for 74 yards. Marquise Stepp had 29 yards. Sevion Morrison had 26 yards. And then you even got guys like Winemaster, Cooper Jewett, and Logan Smothers into the game a little bit as well. But you sit here and go, he put it a perfect way. Dominated the line of scrimmage last year, and they held on to the football and didn't make stupid plays. And what are we saying going into this game? 6 of the 11 games between Nebraska and Northwestern, between Nebraska and Northwestern, 6 of the 11 games have been decided by less than 9 points. Less than 9 points. And in those close games, what's the biggest difference makers? Holding on to the football, playing disciplined football, limiting penalties, and that's it, right? Take care of the football, control the line of scrimmage, control time of possession, and just don't be stupid. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. It's like the Iowa approach at times where it's, listen, we know you're going to mess up eventually, so we're just going to kind of hang around until you do, and then that's when we're going to take it from you. And that's the Iowa approach. That's the Big Ten West approach with a lot of these teams, with Iowa, Wisconsin, and Northwestern, I suppose. But like you sit here and what are we saying going into this game on Saturday, Bach? It's take care of the football, control the line of scrimmage, and establish somewhat of a running game. And you feel like Nebraska will come out on top of this one.
Yeah, I'm still fascinated by just the way that he is approaching this offense, which is basically, we have no clue what it's going to look like. Now, obviously, they did a lot of tape study. He mentioned that too. So I don't want to make it sound like they're not prepared. But
and that's one thing. Sorry to interrupt. With Pat Fitzgerald and his staff, they've been here for 17 years, and they know the Big Ten as well as anybody, the landscape of it. They're going to be prepared.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to make adjustments.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think, you can kind of listen to that and kind of think, well, I don't think they have any idea what's coming. But obviously, they've done plenty of Oh, there's my.
There's an ad being played, Bach.
There's an ad playing.
Here, I'm gonna turn off that. There we go.
Off my. Usually turn off my.
Yeah, you get sound.
In any case, yeah. So I, then the halftime adjustments is something that hasn't been great for Scott Frost over his time here, and obviously there's not a whole lot that has been. But so maybe you kind of worry about that a little bit. Maybe Pat Fitzgerald. Maybe having a little bit of a coaching edge there. Maybe that shifts. Maybe that changes with some of the new assistants that Nebraska has brought in. So I think that he's trying to express confidence. He's trying to boost his team up and get them something new. But I'll tell you this, and I know a lot of people kind of look back at those past games, like you said. I don't think this Northwestern team is close. They didn't have a huge offseason of bringing in all these different names to look out for. They seem to be pretty similar to last year's team. Last year's team, struggled to score 17 points. They scored, their final 6 games, they didn't. They scored like 14 points was their high. I don't expect to see an explosive offense. I don't expect to see a Mike Hankwin's defense back. He's been gone for a few years now. If you do see it, I think it'll be improving over the season. So I think that this should be a game, like you said, as long as Nebraska doesn't shoot themselves in the foot, they should win by a few touchdowns.
Which, in all honesty, is kind of the approach that we have had going into multiple seasons now. When you look at the Big Ten West, and it's not explosive offenses outside of Purdue, I suppose, has the capability with a guy like Aiden O'Connell at quarterback. Not explosive offenses. As long as you don't shoot yourself in the foot and you take care of the football, you're going to find yourself in contention to win a game every single Saturday. And even against Purdue, because they might lack in other facets of the game, you could find yourself in a position to compete on Saturdays, on any given Saturday. You talk about the ability to score points, and quarterback's a big part of that, Bach. Pat Fitzgerald was asked if he's going to be naming a quarterback here before Saturday, and he gave a pretty quick and short answer. Here's what he had to say really quickly.
Ben, I've been thinking about this all night, and I'm not going to tell you anything. So how about that?
That's it. So we don't know who the starting quarterback is for Northwestern.
And if it's Brennan Sullivan, then he's got almost the same type of advantage Nebraska does, and not so much play formations and all that stuff that you got to read into, but that's a different looking offense. You wonder what gives Northwestern a little bit more room to expand their play calling, because he's got some wheels to him as opposed to Ryan Helinski. So I think, as far as hoping the Huskers win, I think Ryan Helinski's kind of the safe bet, because he doesn't pose too much of a threat. But as far as intrigue for that game, if Brendan Sullivan runs out there, then I'm interested. Then I think that Northwestern could be a little bit different. Like I said, I don't think that they have a whole lot. They brought back Cam Porter. That's good for them. They lost their star wide receiver. They have their second wide receiver coming back from not a very explosive pass game. So they're that's the one wild card is if they make a change at quarterback.
What's interesting here is, like you said, Bach, they returned Ryan Helinski, who started 5 games for them in 2021. He completed 54% of his passes and threw for a team high 978 yards. In 5 games, he threw for 978 yards, which was the team high. And here's the thing. So he finished 95 of 176 passes, 54% of completion rate for 978 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's their returning starter at quarterback who started 5 games. So when you look at this quarterback room, you expect that they're going to be heavy run, especially with a guy like Evan Hull returning. That's the guy that Nebraska has to shut down if they want to win this game. If Nebraska holds Evan Hull to under 100 yards, Nebraska's going to run away with this. I truly believe it. But if you allow holes to open, Nebraska's deep rush defense isn't as sound as we think it's going to be, or we project it to be. If the linebackers don't have a good day, if the front four don't have a good day, then there's this is one that Husker fans might be kind of holding on and biting their fingernails on at the end of the day if we look up in the third quarter and Evan Hull has 150 yards. And so it's just one of those things where if Nebraska, you don't need to have, now once again, you don't need to have a Nebraska defense versus Kenneth Walker type game like they did last year. You don't need that. But in a game that Nebraska's offense, we don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know how smooth it's going to be right out of the gate either. You need to hold the one playmaker that Northwestern has in check. That's the one thing that you have to do. You mentioned they returned their second best wide receiver, Malik Washington, who had 578 yards last year for 2 touchdowns. The passing game for Northwestern is just not there, at least on paper. And with Nebraska, I should say, not knowing who the starting quarterback is, they have to prepare for Ryan Helinski and Brendan Sullivan, which might cause some Husker fans some uneasiness. But it's one of these things where you look up and down this roster, and once again, Nebraska has the talent advantage on paper. Can they finally transition that to a Saturday? And maybe it's not to the tune of 56-7, but maybe it's to the tune of a 35-10 game or a 28-7 game. It can be a dominated win and just not put up 56 points. If it looks good, you take care of the football and you do your job. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I mean, last year again, it is exactly that. That's what happened in week 0. You didn't go in thinking, oh, Brandon Peters is the biggest
Artur
fear in the world. Yeah, and even more so if Brandon Peters goes out, then Artur Sitkowski would come in and beat you because you just felt pretty good coming off a victory against him against Rutgers. So we've seen lesser teams beat Nebraska. I don't know if I would say that. I guess Illinois is a little bit maybe better than where Northwestern was coming in. And again, you don't want to. I hate disparaging or say. I mean, Northwestern 0-0 too. They got a fresh slate,
and that's why I preface this segment here with they were both 3-9, and they're both losers of 6 in a row going back to last year.
But they just look completely different. As if there can be a completely different 3-9 season, Nebraska and Northwestern had it. You could tell in the game that they played. Heads up, obviously, Nebraska ended up having a 49-point difference there. But also the games that Nebraska had similar opponents to. It just, as we know, Nebraska was playing everybody close, not that big of a gap. Northwestern's the opposite. I mean, they look like they've got a long way to go, and you don't expect them to make that in the first game of the next season. So it really is. If Nebraska has even less than 2 turnovers, I think that they win this game. If you start getting more than that, then you allow Northwestern to stick around, and that's going to be another kind of note of interest. Is Nebraska's offense get rolling? Can they get to 21 points in the first half? If they do, I think they win the game. I just don't think Northwestern can keep up.
What's interesting, and Pat Fitzgerald, I want to get to one more quote before we get a break, and then also it was just the black shirts were just released, so we'll get to that. We'll let you guys know who received a black shirt in the next segment. But what's interesting here is, and Evan Bland actually asked this question of what are some of the challenges of preparing for a bunch of new pieces. He asked Pat Fitzgerald this question. And it's one of those things, once again, Bach, where if Nebraska sits there at the end of the first quarter and they're down 10-3 or 14-3, you're sitting here going, all right, who do you turn to? What does the offense look like? And on the flip side, there's 2 ways you can look at it. We don't know what this offensive staff does at Nebraska when they're behind, and we don't know how they operate when they're ahead either. And so there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to be able to take away from this game on Saturday. A lot of questions that are going to be answered about how they operate, more importantly than just, the X's and O's type thing. So once again, challenges of preparing for a bunch of new pieces. We'll get this quote from Pat Fitzgerald, who was asked by our Omaha World Herald's Evan Bland earlier this week.
Yeah. How you doing, brother? Hope all's well out west. This is like the absolute norm for my staff. It seems like every year in the opener, it's a new head coach or multiple new coordinators. I mean, we're kind of used to this. So you don't start in August, right? This starts way back when in January, and you do your off-season studies. You kind of put together your preliminary game plans. You go through spring ball, see what the new pieces look like, and then kind of tweak that plan over the summer. And then you go through training camp and see if there's any rookies, any freshmen that can get into the mix. But it's a lot. It's a lot of organization. You're right. You got to be careful of the paralysis by analysis. But like you pop on LSU tape and you see Trey Palmer and you're like, oh yeah, there he is. This dude's a freak. I mean, you pop on, the Texas tape and it just, there's Casey right away jumping out to you and Marcus. It's not hard to see all those things when you pop on the tape. And then, when you pop on the success that Coach Whipple had, the last few years at Pitt, it's really impressive. And then, how are they going to mesh that with Coach Frost's offense and the things that he believes in and how they do things there at Nebraska? We're going to have our hands full, especially in the first quarter, on how they're going to marry that together, what they're going to do and how things are going to go. And then we're going to have to just plan to adjust with poise. And, more importantly, as always in the opener, it's about how you execute. It's about the turnover ratio. Making sure you can make big plays in the kick game and minimize those against you. And then, this game, outside of maybe a handful against us in Nebraska, have been really close. So, conditioning will be a factor, even though we're playing at 5:30 and it looks like it might be in the low 60s. It might feel a little bit more like a fall day. I'm not sure any of the offensive or defensive linemen on either team will be overly upset about that.
So, I mean, Pat Fitzgerald, once again, in his 17th year, entering his 17th year, he gets it. He gets it. He's fully admittive of, listen, after the first, we don't know what they're going to do in the first quarter, but we're ready to make adjustments after the first quarter. So it's also one of those things where if you're a Nebraska fan, you come out and you need a quick start, not only in the first half or in the game in its entirety, but in the first quarter especially. Because you don't know, once again, like let's be honest, we don't know how Nebraska is going to react to the adjustments that Northwestern makes. We don't know what adjustments Nebraska is going to have to make to their offense, or if they'll be ready to make adjustments to the adjustments that Northwestern makes. Those are the little intricacies within the game that we don't even think about quarter to quarter, half to half, game to game. Those adjustments, once again, what makes a big difference between a decent coach to the and a great coach is their ability to make adjustments on either a small scale or a large scale. So it's just kind of interesting to think about. I will add this part. Nebraska brings in 15 transfers. Northwestern brings in 11 this offseason. They brought in 11 transfers. I'm going to try to find I don't have the sheet pulled up, but I can after the break. But once again, Huskers released the black shirts just a little bit ago, just about 7 minutes ago. So we will let you guys know who are your 2022 black shirts coming up next. Once again, just a little bit of a deep dive, hearing from Pat Fitzgerald on how they're kind of approaching Saturday's game in Dublin. They have arrived at Aviva Stadium, Northwestern has, so both teams are in Dublin, all safe and sound. We're good to go. And when we come back, we'll talk black shirts, talk a little more Nebraska Northwestern. Want to hear more from you guys. 402-464-5685. We'll be right back. Nick Sander, Jake Bachov, and you're listening to Early Break on The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com. Did you know that the U.S. has added over 1,100 new breweries in the last 18 months? Learn more by shopping at Myers Cork and Bottle, 13th and South, and by tuning in to Thirsty Thursdays with Kevin Myers, because sports are better with a drink in your hand and a friend at your side.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 and 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
It's time to kick off the Nebraska high school football season. Hey guys, it's Nick Sainert, and join me for a Thursday night matchup as the Lincoln East Spartans host the Kearney Bearcats at 7 p.m. Then Friday, join DP and myself for a doubleheader. We kick things off at 4:30 with Lincoln Southeast taking on Elkhorn South, and the nightcap featuring the Lincoln High Lynx and the Lincoln Southwest Silverhawks around 8 p.m. That's this Thursday and Friday on 93.7 The Ticket, your home for high school football.
High school football is sponsored by Southeast Community College, Members-Owned Credit Union, Union Bank and Trust, Mosaic of Southeast Nebraska, Nebraska DOT Highway Safety Office, and Gaina Trucking.
Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out. But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, that frog will boil. As a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans, it's a story that rings true. We learn to endure the heat in silence. We apply what we learn to life, the bills, the job, the family, things we're expected to handle with ease. When life heats up around us, we just try to stay afloat. We let the water boil. Reaching out isn't easy, but you've never been interested in easy. You joined because you were not afraid of hard work. You are not a frog. If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait until the water boils. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach. Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by Security First Bank, a relationship you can count on.
Sunny and warm conditions once again here for our Wednesday, topping out near 92. Light south wind at around 10. Mainly clear tonight, a low dropping down to 67. We'll see more of the same tomorrow. Mainly sunny with a high of 92, but a very slight chance of some late afternoon thunderstorms. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hey, it's me, your cell phone. We need to talk about something serious. I know you love me. I know you like using me wherever you are, but I feel like this isn't working out when you're driving. I know you may think that it's possible to focus both on me and the road, but I just don't feel the same way. I think we should spend time away from each other when you're driving. It's for the best.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
I grew up hearing that women are bad with money. But like many of you, I spent years paying bills, managing checking accounts, and taking care of my family. So turns out women are pretty good with money after all. And now I'm taking control of my financial future by saving for retirement. It's never too late to start, and there's a great website to help you. Check out WeSaySaveIt.org and jumpstart your retirement savings on your budget and your timeline. That's WeSaySaveIt.org. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
This
Well, good morning, little brother.
is Early Break with Sip and Jay, brought to you by Gaina Trucking. Weekday mornings from 6 to 8 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Nine Huskers have been awarded a black shirt. Buck and I were talking during the break. It's insane to have I wouldn't call it a press release, but a graphic release of who receives the black shirts come out at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
But you have to remember that it's 12:30 over there right now in Ireland. And we just got an email actually from Associate Athletic Director for the Huskers of Communications. And the media or the email says that post-practice interviews, we'll hear from offensive coordinator Mark Whipple, defensive coordinator Eric Shenander, and 3 to 4 players today at post-practice interviews, I suppose post-practice media. And let's see, so they're planning on that being at 3:15 to 3:30 or 3:45. So what time would that make it here, Bach? 11?
Yeah, it's hard to do the math there. Are they 6 hours ahead?
6 hours. So it'd be 10.
Yeah, it'd be pretty early.
So it'd be 10. So about 10 a.m. our time. Well, I guess it'd be 3 hours from now because it's 12:30 over there. So it's 3 hours from now. So it'd be about 10:45. We'll be hearing from offense coordinator Mark Whipple, defense coordinator Eric Schnander, and 3 to 4 players will speak to the media that are over in Ireland. Not sure if they're going to stream it or anything. But once again, 9 black shirts have been given out. We'll go through the names here. Colton Feast, Miles Farmer, Garrett Nelson, Nick Henrich, Quentin Newsome, Marquise Buford Jr., Luke Reimer, Caleb Tanner, and Ty Robinson have all been awarded a black shirt.
Does that tip you off on some of the starters? You think Colton Feast is starting inside?
Ooh, that's a way to look at it.
I mean,
yes.
Because in the past, you've had top backups get black shirts too. It's not necessarily always out of the gate. They decided to go with a low number this time. I think they've already talked about how they're not necessarily, they feel some type of way about giving out a black shirt if you haven't suited up for Nebraska yet. So you'll see O'Shawn Mathis, some of the names over there. Tommy Hill don't have black shirts. You can expect them maybe to start. And then probably get it after this year's. But so I don't know. Some of these guys might still be top backups, but that's the one that kind of stands out to me.
Say, does Colton Feast surprise you? And nothing against Colton Feast. We just haven't heard of him making an impact until this season. So does that one surprise? We've heard in press conferences and conversations with the coaching staff how much of a leader he is in that defensive line room. So maybe it shouldn't come to as a surprise to us because it's kind of been the message has kind of been the same and circulating throughout the entire fall camp. But Colton Feast gets a black shirt. And once again, like, it's not a question of whether or not it's deserving or not. Like, we're not questioning that. It just kind of, that's the one that stands out. I think Miles Farmer also stands out a little bit.
Him and Marquise Buford. The question about who's starting as safety.
There you go.
Is that answered?
I think so. Are you surprised not to see a guy like Tommy Hill get it?
No, because like I said, I think it was Shenander. The newcomers. I think it was Shenander who said that and it might have been Frost, that they're going to be hesitant to give it out to somebody that hasn't suited up for Nebraska.
Well, there
yet.
you go. Then
they'll get it after week 1, I'm sure. If they are starters, I mean, you only have 9, you have 11 starters. They might have a few more out there. So that's fascinating. We'll see.
The two projected starters that did not receive a black shirt, O'Shawn Mathis and Tommy Hill.
Right. And then maybe, like I said, sometimes the top backups get it. So maybe, especially you're thinking interior defensive line, a Devin Drew, Stephon Wynn, they might start. Well, not Nash. I don't expect him to start now.
Really? Okay. So how much do you expect a guy like Nash to play this year?
Before this, again, it's right up there. I didn't know who was going to start this weekend. Is it going to be Colton Feast? Is it going to be Nash Hutmacher? Is it going to be Stephon Wynn? Is it going to be Devin Drew? Again, Stephon Wynn and Devin Drew could fall into the category of haven't suited up for the Huskers, not getting a black shirt, similar to Tommy Hill and O'Shawn Mathis. Nash is not in that category. I think if Nash was either starting or playing a significant role or expected to right out of the gate, he would have been included in this black shirt list.
It's interesting to gauge where Husker fans are at right now and in YouTube, Bach, because I'm one of those that puts I think I'm higher on Nash than a lot of other people. And I maybe I shouldn't be. I don't have a reason of why I am.
He's a big guy. I'll give him that.
He's a big guy, and it feels like there's been a lot of talk about him in previous camps, and he just hasn't been able to. I mean, think about the years past. He hasn't necessarily gotten on the field because the depth at interior defensive line hasn't necessarily been a question. You've had Damian Daniels, you had Darian Daniels one year, and then you had DeAndre Thomas. I mean, It wasn't necessarily a question. And at the interior defensive line, you had a couple decent guys there. And so like once again, Damian Daniels was severely underrated, did not get talked about enough, in my opinion. For just kind of all the space that he took up. We know what Darian Daniels did. Obviously, he had that big fumble recovery against Purdue that he almost ran back and mumbling, bumbling, stumbling to the end zone. But and then DeAndre Thomas ends up leaving Nebraska after last season. So, like right after the season ended this last year in 2021, you had the idea that it was going to be Nash Hutmacher, and maybe that's why I'm still putting him above a guy like Stephon Wynn.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Drew, I'm only putting ahead of him maybe because of experience, but now he's a couple weeks behind schedule already. So it's just going to be interesting to see how they navigate that interior defensive line room, like you said, with, I mean, you have Colton Feast, who has established himself as a leader and now obviously earns a black shirt. And then now you have kind of a mix of guys where just a couple months ago, you didn't know what it was going to look like on that front four.
Yeah, and then I look at the back too, because there was a battle for the safety positions, and that's why we kind of mentioned Miles Farmer. I mean, he's started enough that you figured he'd be in there. Marquise Buford, a lot of talk and chatter about him, and I can't wait to see him kind of make his I don't want to say his debut, but maybe his debut as a starter. But you kind of again reading between the lines there. You got to believe Tommy Hills won that battle against Braxton Clark. Braxton Clark maybe would fit into the category of a guy that. Had he earned the black shirt, had he been a starter, he would have probably got one of these here. Same at the safety position with the Noah Pola Gates of the world.
That's another name.
Yeah.
That's another name where you were kind of hoping to see him kind of establish himself in that secondary, but it seems like Marquise Buford is going to be the guy next to Miles Farmer.
And we'll see. I mean, because it's always just there's different measurements, there's different readings on these things, and they've said the safeties they feel pretty good about playing. What was it, 4? Feeling good about playing 4 as opposed to having guys that are standouts, it can be a completely different thing. So I don't know. Maybe there's still a room. There's obviously room to grow. We'll see guys get better throughout the season. Maybe Deshaun Singleton is a starter and, hasn't suited up yet. So there's still some things to kind of look into here, but a low number of black shirts to be handed out at the beginning. So I don't know. I expect to see Colton Feast out there. I expect to see Marcus Buford and Miles Farmer starting. So I think with this graphic, with these black shirts being handed out, we've got some of our answers before the depth chart's going to be handed out. Do you know if there's any plan, maybe a Saturday morning, to release a depth chart or anything? Or
it was interesting a couple weeks ago when we talked to Scott Frost. So we talked to him on Sunday, but then the week before we talked to him on Saturday. And on that Saturday, he mentioned something about releasing a depth chart. And we know Nebraska hasn't necessarily been big on releasing depth charts in the past. And there's been a lot of this guy or this guy on there. Yeah. So it doesn't really tell us a whole lot. But the way they made it sound was that they know their depth chart and that they were planning to send out one. Huh. But we haven't heard anything yet. Haven't seen it yet. Maybe that's something we get on like a Thursday or a Friday, a couple days before the game. Sanderson says, no O'Shawn, that's dumb. Where did Colton Feast come from? Is this guy some kind of freak or something? Yeah, so let's see.
I don't think
okay, so unnamed texter says Hutmacher was in high school, Darian Daniels last year at Nebraska. They never played for the same team. I know that, but it was just the interior line play the last couple of years. You haven't had to question about who's going to be there. Plus, they've also played a 3-4 sometimes, so they've had bigger bodies, haven't need so many interior line guys because, like, Damian Daniels was just the guy there last year. So it's kind of interesting. All right, 402-464-5685. Once again, the 9 black shirts that have been awarded have been given to Ty Robinson, Caleb Tanner, Marquise Buford Jr., Quentin Newsome, Luke Reimer, Garrett Nelson, Nick Henrich. So you have the 3 linebackers there. Miles Farmer and Colton Feast are the 9 guys that earn a black shirt in Dublin. But it is time to play the game show. It's not necessarily Shut Up Sipple. It's Shut Up Bach. Not as much of a ring to it as in previous games or editions. But we're still going to play the game show. Call now, 402-464-5685. It's time to play the game show. Bach, how do you feel about Husker jersey numbers?
This year?
Yes.
I probably should study up a little more, but we'll see if I can get it.
All right. It's time to play the game show. Give us a call now. Here we go.
We've all been there. You're listening to the radio, and then that rage starts to grow inside of you. It starts to consume you. It gets to a point where you just want to yell, "Shut up, Sipple!" No, sorry. I'm sorry. Well, here's your chance. It's time to shut up, Sipple. Call now to play. 464-5685. Shut up, Sipple. Brought to you by Bagels and Joe.
All righty, give us a call, 402-464-5685. It's time to play the game show. The category is Husker jersey numbers. And we have Trevor. All right. Hello, Trevor. How's it going? How do you feel about Husker jersey numbers?
Hey, fellas, I'm feeling pretty good, honestly.
Okay, sounds good. All right, first question goes to Trevor. Trevor, what number is Jaquez Yant wearing?
That would be number 0.
There it is, 1-0 Trevor. All right, Bach, Kane Williams, transfer from Alabama. What number is the redshirt freshman wearing?
Is it 26? Oh,
Trevor, would you like to steal? Do you know what number Kane Williams is wearing?
I'll pass on that one.
All right, sounds good. So still 1-0 Trevor. Second question for you.
Don't we get an answer on that one?
He's number 5.
He's number 5, okay.
Number 5. The second question for you, Trevor. What number does sophomore defensive back Miles Farmer wear?
He is number 12.
Buck, would you like to steal?
I'd like to steal. I'll go with number 4.
All right, so Bach is tied all at 1-1. Last question for Bach here to determine whether or not we go to a tiebreaker or Bach wins. What number is transfer running back Anthony Grant wearing this year?
Anthony Grant. Believe he's wearing number 25.
Uh-oh. Trevor, would you like to steal or would you like to just go to the tiebreaker?
That's a tough one.
All right, sounds good. Bach, I need you to
What
give
number
me
is Anthony Grant wearing?
23.
23.
You were
That's
close.
right.
You were
Okay,
close.
yeah, I was close.
Bach, I need you to give me a number, and Trevor will go over under.
Okay.
What is the population of Dublin, Ireland?
Oh my goodness, I am not prepared for this. Jeez. Let's go with jeez. I have no clue. Let's go with 850,000.
All right, Trevor, what is the population of Dublin, Ireland? Is it under 850,000 or over 850,000?
I'm going to go with under. I don't think that there's 850,000.
All right, and he goes with under, and that is absolutely correct. How about that? Trevor, congratulations. You have won the game show. The population of Dublin, 544,107. So 850 is just a little high. Congratulations, Trevor. Stick on the line. Gus will get your information. You win a business box of bagels, courtesy of our good friends at Bagels and Joe. Thanks for playing, man. Call down the road.
Yeah, I appreciate it, fellas. Shut up, Bach.
Yeah,
how about that? Yes. Shut up, Bach. That's great. That's my first shut up, Bach.
Yeah.
That's what we like to hear.
Now I know I got to get ready. I'm going to be so confused on game day.
So
looking at all these numbers.
Miles Farmer, he changed numbers.
Did he?
I don't think he was number 4 last year.
Maybe.
I thought he was.
Could be right.
I thought he was number like 15.
You might be right.
We're gonna lead to.
I don't know why I knew Miles Farmer's number out of all of them. Then
that's true. I guess maybe the Jaquez Yant one was a little too easy for him. Let's see what he. Oh, he was number 18.
Yeah, that's right.
Miles Farmer's number 18.
Digit number.
Yeah, so now he's number 4. All right. Thanks for playing, Trevor. Appreciate you calling. That was fun. When we come back, we'll have the spillover with Raph and AD. AD's still in Jamaica for one more day, so he'll join us from his deck probably and show you views of the beach. So get over to the stream. We'll be right back. Early break on the ticket. We round out the show next.
My computer was a dinosaur, and our TV, well, let's just say it was definitely time for an upgrade. But finding a way wasn't so simple. And then I found it. A research study at Solarion. I searched the studies and found a perfect match for me. I earned cash for the study and was able to make those much-needed upgrades. Plus, I made an impact on medical research. Find a study and sign up today at helpresearch.com.
You should consider the risks of the research before you agree to participate.
Wow. Did you ever save me money on my car?
Yes, that's why our customers keep coming back.
How do you do it, friendly car dealer ?
We simply have low overhead and high trade-in values. The next line's yours.
Oh.
Ready for something better? Mullen Motors is a no-hassle, no-pressure dealership with financing available. Check out the inventory at MikeMullenMotors.com.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
It's tailgate season.
Why would you bounce around from place to place for all your beverage needs when you could have it all in one place? Wine, Beer, and Spirits has everything for your parties with their 3 locations in Lincoln, Grand Island, and Omaha. It's the largest liquor store in the state, and here's the best part. You can get a drink from their bar and walk around with it as you shop for all your tailgate necessities. Locally owned and operated, it's Wine, Beer, and Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids. First, I hold my hands out like they're on a steering wheel. Then I look over my shoulder. Next, I put it in reverse. Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Please enjoy these next few moments of relaxation from Scott and Greg at Mendoza Family Insurance. If you would like to feel this relaxed about your home, auto, business, life, or commercial property insurance, please give Scott or Greg a call today at Mendoza Family Insurance.
Casey's General Stores is giving away 2 tickets to each Nebraska football home game this season. To enter, just head to any Casey's General Store location in Lincoln during the football season, scan the QR code at the front counter, and fill out the online form. One winner will be chosen at random 2 days before that week's game. So head over to Casey's, stock up on all your tailgating snacks and drinks, and register to win 2 tickets to a Nebraska football game, brought to you by Casey's General Store and 93.7 The Ticket.
I grew up hearing that women are bad with money, but like many of you, I spent years paying bills, managing checking accounts, and taking care of my family. So turns out women are pretty good with money after all. And now I'm taking control of my financial future by saving for retirement. It's never too late to start, and there's a great website to help you. Check out WeSaySaveIt.org and jumpstart your retirement savings on your budget and your timeline. That's WeSaySaveIt.org. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
Yeah, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, anything, you need to tell an adult, someone you know and trust. That can be hard, but speaking up about a problem is what helping a friend is all about.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Sponsored by DHHS and aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
James Enterprise Incorporated, that company that hauls your gravel, rocks, and material for your farm or construction site, says thank you to the people of the healthcare community for putting yourself in the way of danger to save the public. That is what it means to be a hero and to build a beautiful legacy. This message brought to you by James Enterprise Incorporated. For all your hauling of rock, gravel, and materials, call them at 402-432-6740. That's 402-432-6740.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
I wanted to quit for so long, but I didn't know where to start.
I was afraid of what people would think, but then I found the right support to start my recovery journey. 1 in 14 Americans reports experiencing a substance use disorder, a treatable medical condition. Treatment can take many forms, so there are a variety of options to explore and find the one that works best for you. Recovery from drug addiction is possible.
Paid for by the CDC, sponsored by Nebraska DHHS, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Come see Lincoln's best lineup on and off the diamond all season long. The best seat in town, the best block party, the best outdoor bar, your best night ever. Join the Salt Dogs for Nebraska Medical Association and Lancaster County Medical Society Triple Play Tuesdays, Fairbury Brand Winter Wednesdays, Thirsty Thursdays, Fireworks Fridays, Souvenir Saturdays, and Sunday Family Fun Days brought to you by Casey's. Hit a home run with your next trip to Haymarket Park. Buy tickets at saltdogs.com.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. My service never stops.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
We stand on the shoulders of women who came before us.
Women who fought for their own financial futures.
And now it's our turn.
Join us. Visit WeSaySaveIt.org and take control of your financial future by saving for retirement.
A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
We're on the air.
Back
Well, party's starting early today, isn't it?
to more of Early Break with Sip and Jay, brought to you by Gaina Trucking. On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back into Early Break. Nick Sainert, Jake Bachhoven with you still. And we are now joined by Chris Raff and Aaron Davis, a still Jamaican Aaron Davis, rocking some sunglasses today. He's about to show us
the morning view.
How about that? Oh, it's a little sunnier than normal today.
This morning is nuts out, dude. I mean, it is crazy. It's crazy. I got one more morning left to do this, and then it's going to be mornings. You'll be seeing pastures, maybe Branch Oak Lake, something of that nature.
That's awesome. Branch Oak Lake. I'm all for Branch Oak. AD, we have to talk about this first, and we'll dive into it, I'm sure, on the drive a little bit coming up in a couple minutes. But you were grooving on the boat yesterday.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, talk about what was yesterday like? What was on the itinerary yesterday? Did we end up going parasailing?
No. I'm gonna get to that in a second. I did go. I got on a did the ocean, did the beach until about 2:30, 2:45, and then had a catamaran ride that started. Well, it got delayed because it started to rain, and then the rain moved out. So we were on the catamaran for about 3 hours, from about 4:30 until about 7. And I actually went snorkeling, man.
Oh, really?
I got out of my comfort zone, man. It was just
snorkeling. Did we see a shark?
No, but I had my eyes open.
Okay.
I mean, like wide open. You know, it was once I got calm, I was cool, man. But dude, there's so much so many different fish down there, man. I swore I saw Nemo. I saw his cousin. I saw his dad. I saw Dory. What's her name? Dory.
Dory, yeah.
I saw Dory down there. But no, it was cool, man. Got on the boat, hung out there for a few hours. It was a good time, man. There was some other folks that were from Virginia. One guy was a Virginia Tech fan, but he's Jamaican. But what is Nick? Not you, Nick, but there other Nick. Nate's a Virginia Tech guy.
Yeah,
right?
Nate went to Virginia Tech. He's a Hokie homer. Yeah.
This guy was too, and he was Jamaican. He goes, "Yeah, man, but I love Virginia Tech, man. They got good special teams."
That's true. I also, talking about Virginia Tech for a moment, I like the Brett Pry hire. I like the former Penn State defensive coordinator. I think he's a really good fit for Virginia Tech. Justin Fuente was not so much, but I think Brent Pry's a good fit there as the former Penn State defense coordinator. I don't know if you guys heard, AD and Raf, Huskers have announced black shirts over in Dublin. They're practicing right now at Aviva Stadium or just outside of Aviva, and they'll be available to the media here in about 2 hours or so. But 9 Huskers have been awarded black shirts. I'll run through the names again in case you guys have just joined us. Ty Robinson, Caleb Tanner, Marquise Buford Jr., Quentin Newsom,
Luke Reimer, Miles Farmer, Garrett Nelson, Nick Henrich, and Colton Feast have all been awarded a black shirt. And we got this text on the text line, and I'll ask you guys the same question. Is the black shirt tradition watered down nowadays? I'll let either one of you, whichever one wants to take that delicate question first. Is the black shirt tradition watered down? Because somebody texted in and said, let's see, what is the qualifications to get a black shirt? When I moved here, it sounded like it was a special award that only a few earn, but now it sounds a little watered down. It's a delicate topic.
You know,
I think.
Go ahead, Rick. I'll answer after you're done. Go ahead.
Well, I think for a while there, I don't think it was watered down. I just thought they were marketing it way too much. Like it was more of, how do you explain it?
It was a PR.
It was kind of a PR, like when are, like the ceremonies and stuff, they were making it more
extravagant.
Extravagant. I so to say. Like last year, I really liked the way that they did it, where they brought back some of the old black shirts, and it was a private ceremony. Then afterwards, they showed a little bit of the video, but they didn't. But prior to that, it just felt like it was just getting way too like, and now I don't think it's watered down. I know there's like some people that are out there right now. It's like I guess the big one, like Colton Feast, why, should he have got a black shirt? We haven't really heard much about him, but you had heard like Shenander talk in his press conferences that Colton Feast is one of those guys that had stood out in the spring, and he's down there and he's fighting, he's scrapping. So I look for him to be kind of that Ben Stilley type player for us. So I think he deserves that black shirt. So
that was the thing is throughout fall camp, the narrative has really been growing that Colton Feast has established himself as a leader, although a former walk-on, although a walk-on, like he has established himself as a leader in that interior defensive line room because they haven't gotten what they want out of Nash Hutmacher. They haven't. I mean, Devin Drew got here a little bit late. Stephon Wynn has small sample size from actual on the field experience at Alabama. So Colton Feast seems to be the guy that kind of stepped up in that role. I mean, AD, what are your thoughts on Raf's thoughts and just on the idea that maybe black shirts is watered down a little bit?
I don't think. I think it lost some of its sacredness. I don't want to, because you can't. To me, you can't water down a tradition. You can just not appreciate it as much. And I agree with both of your comments on that, and the listener as well. To Ralph's point, that there's maybe some over marketing aspects of it. I think more than any of those things. Me personally, I just think you got to understand the sacredness of it. The history of it, tradition of it, because what you don't know, you don't appreciate. If you don't know your history, you don't appreciate your history. Nick, it's like if you have pictures of your great grandparents in your house, and Ralph, you have pictures of your great grandparents in your house. If your parents have never told you the history and the sacrifices and all the advancements that your in-laws that your grandparents went through, and all the struggle, you don't appreciate it. It's just a picture. I think the black shirts in some ways had that aspect to it over the number of coaches that may or may not have really respected the sacredness of the black shirt, the traditions of it, because it has to be taught to you. If you don't know your history, you don't appreciate your history. And I think it was great, to your point, Ralph, they brought the black shirts in last year and showed those guys and told their stories. In my day when the black shirts were awarded, you would have guys in tears.
Yeah,
because it was such an accomplishment, and it meant so much to them. They understood the lineage of the black shirt, and at the same time, though, that's something that has to be taught. So I was glad to see the steps that were made. And granted, back then, I think sometimes today's culture and today's athletics and athletes, sometimes they get a raw deal because social media is so loud. But we have to understand, we didn't have social media back in those days, so certain things weren't blown up as much. They weren't marketed as much. You didn't hear about it as much. And when you have these platforms, yes, use those things, talk about it. Use the platform, but don't lose the sacredness of it, though. And I think that's what I'm saying. Don't lose the sacredness of the black shirt, because it's the history of it, the story of it. Those who wore it before you, it's a privilege to put on that jersey. Your name may be in the back, but you're just renting that jersey because there's others that came before you, after you, and those others watch you right now.
Yeah.
And talking about prior coaches too, that maybe didn't see like that brotherhood or the bond that those black shirts bring. I myself, I can say personally that Shenander does see that, and he
does,
and he's he's one of those coaches. I look at it. Nebraska's lucky to have him. And he might be from Iowa, but Shenander, he's got a lot of Nebraskan in him, and he sees those traditions, and it's cool to see him that he's honoring them. And those black shirts that went out today, there's a good chance that maybe a couple of those guys might not have those black shirts here in a couple of weeks, and there's a chance that in a few weeks that a couple more, will attain them, because he had said, like the guys that had not played yet for Nebraska wouldn't be getting a black shirt right away.
Exactly, and that's why we don't see O'Shawn Mathis with one, and Tommy Hill with one. Those are the two big names. Corey and Lincoln makes a really interesting point on the text line. I like this idea. Corey and Lincoln once again says it's not watered down. They just haven't been good. Being a black shirt in the past meant that you were part of one of the best defenses in the country. It hasn't meant that for many years. People are going to roll their eyes at the idea of black shirts when they're getting 50 dropped on them every time they're on national TV for a decade. And that's true. Like when you, it's obviously going to lose some luster when you go in and the black shirts give up 62 points to Ohio State. I mean, and they do it for multiple years. I mean, go back to the Mike Riley years, and they're getting 40 or 50 put up on them by Iowa. I mean, it's going to lose its luster. It's going to lose its pizzazz and the excitement of it, because, and it's going to be held in less respectable, because you're going to say, what's the meaning of having a black shirt if you're going to go out and have a really poor defensive effort? And so I think that's something to watch as well. Seattle Joe asked this on the text line. Once again, want to hear from you guys throughout the early break show and the drive coming up in a couple minutes here. Seattle Joe asks, hey guys, I have a question. What time is the game start, and is it going to be live? Because isn't it like a 12-hour difference? 6 hours difference, and it'll be at 11:30 Central Time here in Lincoln. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 9 a.m. for you guys on the Ticket Tailgate pregame show. We'll also have a tailgate party in our parking lot. So if you want to stop on by, Steve's Garage Doors and Ambition Electric are providing the food. Colgan Waters providing some drinks. And if you're over 21 years old, you can indulge in an alcoholic beverage or two, but you got to drink responsibly, obviously. So once again, if you're not doing anything Saturday pregame, come hang out with us for the pregame show. We'll do the pregame show from our studio on Saturday, and we'll have a good time as we lead you up to kickoff 2.5 hours prior to the game. Then join us for the Husker After Party post-game show. Bach and I will be on that one for the call-in show. All right, guys, last thing before we go, I wanted to mention this because this tweet came across my feed yesterday, and it was from Darren Rovell. Now, Alabama head coach Nick Saban just signed a massive contract extension, right? So get this. Darren Rovell tweets out, in-state student tuition, room and board at the University of Alabama for the 2022-23 school year costs $26,326. Alabama football coach Nick Saban gets paid $29,315 per day this season. $3,000 more, almost $3,000 more per day than it costs to go to a school for a whole year. It's just remarkable what they're paying Nick Saban, and I think there's a chance that this guy coaches until he's 90.
Go on, AD.
No, go ahead, bro.
Oh, I was just gonna say when they announced it, I think, what is he, 11.7 million this year?
I think so.
I think Coach Osborne, his last year was 250,000.
The lowest paid coach right now is Terry Bowden at Louisiana Monroe, and he's getting paid $430K.
Lowest paid. That's pretty much Frost's salary a month.
Yeah.
What Bowden's getting paid. You know what, man? And here's the thing about athletics, and I know that the tweet wasn't related to this. When people say, well, you have a group of people that may say, oh, these coaches make too much money. They just make too much money.
Yeah.
I mean, that may be true, but at the same time, people get entertainment and education confused. Sports is entertainment. So it always blows me away, why these coaches make so much money? Well, first of all, Nick's winning. He has one. His body of work shows it. I mean, the man's got 7 natties total, consistently up there. And it's about entertainment. That's why actors and entertainers and, pro players make so much money. It's entertainment, is what it is. It always blows me away. It's like, we need to pay these professors more. No, coaches, unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to call it, they make more money because it's entertainment. It's about supply and demand. They're demanded. We demand entertainment as a society, so they make the money. At the same time, though, that coach better keep producing. He's going to be gone, or she's going to be gone. To where that professor, if they get tenure, it's a different story. So it's always mixing apples and oranges when people try to compare coaching salaries to professor or teacher salaries or something like that. I mean, of course, we need our teachers, professors. We love them and appreciate them, but it's entertainment on the other side. You
got to have a great agent like Nick Saban. I mean, that's true. That contract is so brilliantly worked that he's got the 11.7 million base, but like next year they look at the top 3 paid coaches in the nation, and he's got to be one of those top. It's amazing agent. Well done, Nick's agent.
Yeah, and this thing, I mean, and Matt points out on the text line for the value that Saban brings to the university and the state. Oh, are we cracking one already? Are we cracking one? Oh, hello.
See?
Oh, Coca-Cola. Anyway, I was like, hello. Good morning.
You know some guys have some beers when you just hear the sound, you're like, what was that? What was that? What was that? What was that? By the sounds, it was a Busch Light.
But no, Matt says for the value that Saban brings to the university and the state, he's probably still underpaid. And I guess, that's a question that you have to ask yourself as an athletic department. How much value does this guy bring, and how much is a national championship worth to you? When you're Alabama and you have 7 in however many years, how much is another one worth to you? And the real question is, or the answer is $11.5 million or whatever the salary is. So,
and that's not even all of his Aflac commercials and stuff like that.
I forgot about that. Aflac
endorsement money.
And endorsement money is probably more expensive. A lot of professional athletes, they get paid more in their endorsements than their actual salaries. And that's with golfers as well. Tiger Woods made more from his endorsements than he's made from tournaments.
Yeah.
Yes. I do want to talk about that golf a tad bit on the drive. On the drive later on. But to your point though, Nick, Saban, his $11 million is a drop in the bucket compared to what that athletic department brings in because of winning. Winning is a great paycheck. Consistency is a great paycheck. I want to, and you look back, and Trev just announced that the first 3 games of ours were sold out. Here's what I want Nebraska to get back to again is consistency. Get back to consistency. And thankfully our program from a financial aspect hasn't suffered from the losses in some ways. In some way it has, because so goes Nebraska, so goes the economy downtown. So I'd love for us to get back to that time to where we're consistently winning. That's what I'm excited for. Like I said, with 3 more sleeps left, that's what I'm just pumped for. Let's get back to winning. Get back to winning.
Well, when you talk about the value and you mentioned dropping the bucket, let's talk about, you can always dive into the media rights deal. And that's why this new one was such a big deal for the Big Ten Conference, is because if you make, and the way that they're going to be able to get it up to $10 billion eventually are 2 ways: add more teams, and you can also make more money if you go to a higher prestige bowl game, go to the playoff, win a national championship. You're going to get more money. And so that's where it's so big for the Big Ten Conference signing this massive deal, is that if you somehow make the playoff, if you win the national championship, you are earning way more money, and rightfully so, because you are the face of the conference. You are earning way more money than, say, Rutgers or Illinois or Indiana is that year. Now, those teams are still going to be full partners. They're still going to earn close to $100 million year in and year out because of this deal. But also, if you are Ohio State and you're getting 3-4 years in a row, once we get to the 2027 to 2030 years, you're going to the playoff 4 years in a row, then you're making way more money than everybody else, and you can afford to pay a coach $11.5 million to make sure he stays with your program and goes nowhere, because those championships are so valuable, because championships means money, and money is the main driver in business and athletics.
It's the money. That's where it goes, man. Nick, I want to dive more into that too in the drive, because that TV deal was absolutely massive. And I want to get into what Coach Osborne. Coach Osborne is going to be on Vershawn's show, the captain, later this afternoon at 10 o'clock, between 10 and 12. So make sure you listeners that you tune into Vershawn's show, the captain as well, him in the black shirt to roll forward from 10 to 12. So Coach Osborne will be on there. Coach Osborne had great insight and foresight back in 2010. Think about it. We've been in this conference almost 13 years now. It's going on. I mean, this is 12 years. And at the time, there was a lot of mixed emotions about it, and rightfully so. So I don't want to get too much into that, but T.O. had some great foresight into getting us out of that conference, a very shaky Big 12. And you think about the infrastructure of the Big 12 right now, it's still very shaky right now with the departure of OU and, of course, Texas. There's a lot of things that could happen, man. A lot of things. And Coach did the right thing by getting us the heck out of there.
All right, that'll do it for the spillover with AD and Raph.
Hey, Raph got a haircut.
He did. We'll talk about that. And he had a pretty good golf shot yesterday that we'll have to dive into.
Yeah,
that's it for the spillover. Stick around. The drive with AD, Raph, and myself is coming up next. Appreciate Jake Bachhoven for hanging out. We'll be back tomorrow bright and early at 6 a.m. to take you through your first 2 hours of the day right here on 93.7 The Ticket. Don't go anywhere. The drive continues next on The Ticket.
James Enterprise Incorporated, that company that hauls your gravel, rock,